Have you ever met someone for the first time, yet felt as if your soul already knew them? Their face was new, but their presence felt ancient. Their voice awakened something buried deep inside you. Within moments, you felt trust, fear, love, pain, or a strange familiarity that logic could not explain. The Vedas teach that some meetings do not begin in this lifetime. Certain souls return because a promise remains unfinished, a karmic debt still waits to be balanced, or a love formed long ago continues searching for completion. But here is the mystery. Not every returning soul comes to stay. Some return to heal you, some return to test you. Some return to break an old karmic cycle, and some keep finding you in every lifetime because your spiritual journeys are deeply connected. So why do the same souls cross paths again and again, even after death separates them? The answer may completely change how you understand the most powerful relationships in your life. Lesson 1. The soul remembers what the mind cannot. When two souls meet again, the mind usually has no proof, but the heart may react before logic has time to speak. You may see someone for the first time and suddenly feel safe around them, even though they have done nothing to earn your trust. You may hear their voice and feel an emotion rise from somewhere deeper than memory. Or you may feel immediate discomfort, sorrow, attraction, or even fear without understanding why. According to Vedic wisdom, this happens because the mind and the soul do not remember in the same way. The mind remembers names, faces, places, and events. The soul carries impressions. Every powerful experience leaves a subtle mark, called a samskara. Love leaves one, sacrifice leaves one, betrayal, grief, loyalty, unfinished duty, and deep attachment also leave their own impressions. When the body dies, the visible story ends, but these deeper patterns do not always disappear. They continue with the subtle journey of the soul. This is why two people can be born far apart, raised in different families, speak different languages, and still feel an unexplained connection when they finally meet. Their outer lives may be new, but the energy between them may be very old. The meeting itself may appear ordinary. You may take a different road, accept an unexpected invitation, change your workplace, move to another city, or sit beside someone by chance. Yet behind that small moment may stand a long chain of karma, quietly bringing two unfinished paths together again. The world calls it coincidence. The Vedas ask you to look deeper. Perhaps that soul once protected you. Perhaps you once abandoned them. Perhaps you shared a promise that death interrupted. Perhaps love remained incomplete, forgiveness was never given, or a lesson was never understood. This is why not every familiar soul brings peace. Some people enter your life and feel like home. Others enter and awaken a storm. Both may be signs of an older connection, because the soul remembers not only love, but also pain. Yet you must be careful. A powerful feeling does not automatically mean someone is meant to remain with you forever. Familiarity can reveal a karmic bond, but it does not tell you whether the bond has returned for love, healing, repayment, or release. The true question is not simply, have I known this person before? The deeper question is, what begins to awaken inside me when this person appears? Do they awaken compassion, courage, truth, fear, dependence, jealousy, peace, or an old wound you have spent years avoiding? That inner reaction may be the first language through which the soul speaks. The conscious mind may have forgotten the story, but the karmic impression still remembers the unfinished emotion. And when the right person enters your path, that hidden impression becomes active again. This is why certain meetings feel too meaningful to be random. The soul may not remember the face, but it remembers the feeling. It remembers the promise. It remembers the wound. And it remembers that something between you has not yet reached its final answer. Lesson 2. Some souls return because a promise was left unfinished. Not every promise is spoken with words. Some are created through love, sacrifice, loyalty, regret, and the silent intentions carried deep within the heart. Two souls may have once shared a bond so powerful that one promised to protect the other, remain beside them, return to them, or help them complete an important journey. Perhaps the promise was spoken clearly, perhaps it was never spoken at all, yet it was felt so strongly that it became part of their karmic connection. Then life ended before the promise could be fulfilled. One soul may have left suddenly through death. A family may have separated them. Fear may have prevented one person from speaking the truth. Duty may have forced them onto different paths. One may have abandoned the other and carried regret until the final breath. The physical relationship ended, but the intention remained alive. According to Vedic wisdom, a powerful unfinished intention can continue beyond one lifetime. It becomes like a thread carried through the invisible world, waiting for the right conditions to bring the souls together again. This is why some people enter your life and immediately create a strange sense of responsibility. You may feel protective toward them without knowing why. Their pain may touch you more deeply than the pain of others. You may feel compelled to guide them, support them, or remain beside them during a difficult time. The mind asks, "Why do I care this much?" The soul may be remembering a promise the mind can no longer see, but when souls meet again, they may not return in the same roles. A person who was once your child may return as a close friend. Someone who protected you may return as a teacher. A soul you once failed may return as someone who now needs your kindness. The outer relationship changes, but the deeper purpose continues. This is one of the most mysterious truths of karmic reunion. Souls recognize purpose more deeply than personality. You may not recognize who they were, but you feel that their presence matters. Yet an unfinished promise does not always mean the relationship must last forever. Sometimes the promise is completed through one conversation. Sometimes it is fulfilled through forgiveness. Sometimes you repay an old kindness by helping someone during the darkest period of their life. Sometimes the purpose is completed when you finally speak the truth you were once too afraid to speak. And sometimes the promise is fulfilled by walking away. This may seem difficult to understand, but not every soul returns so that the old relationship can continue. Some return so that the old pattern can finally end. Perhaps in another lifetime you remained silent when you should have defended yourself. Now the same soul appears, and your task is to choose courage. Perhaps you once held someone through fear and control. Now your lesson is to love without possession. Perhaps one of you left with anger. In this life, the promise may be completed when both of you release each other without hatred. Many people remain trapped in painful relationships because they believe a powerful connection must be permanent. They think, "This person feels familiar, so I must tolerate everything. This bond must be destiny." But sacred karma never asks you to destroy your dignity. A returning soul may be important without being meant to stay. The meeting may be holy, while the separation is equally necessary. The real purpose is not always reunion. Sometimes it is completion, and when the unfinished promise has finally been honored, the strange weight within the relationship begins to disappear. The attachment becomes softer. The confusion becomes clearer. The soul no longer feels pulled by an invisible debt. It feels peaceful, because the promise that survived death has finally reached its answer. Lesson 3. Some souls return to balance an ancient karmic debt. Not every soul returns because of love. Some return because something between them was left unbalanced. According to Vedic wisdom, every action creates an impression, and every deep relationship creates an exchange. We give and receive trust, protection, sacrifice, pain, loyalty, abandonment, forgiveness, and responsibility. When that exchange remains incomplete, the bond may continue beyond one lifetime. This is often called karmic debt, but it should not be understood as punishment. The universe does not bring two souls together simply so one can suffer for what happened before. Karma is not revenge. Karma is an opportunity for awareness, correction, and transformation. Perhaps one soul once received great love, but answered it with betrayal. Perhaps someone was protected, yet later abandoned the very person who stood beside them. Perhaps one soul misused power, ignored another's pain, or left without fulfilling a serious duty. The body died, but the imbalance remained. When those souls meet again, the relationship may feel strangely heavy from the beginning. There may be immediate attraction, but also exhaustion. There may be love, yet an unexplained sense of obligation. You may feel that you owe this person something, even when your present life gives you no clear reason to feel that way. Their happiness may feel like your responsibility. Their pain may disturb you more than it should. You may continue helping them, even when the relationship gives little in return. This does not always mean you are weak. It may mean the bond carries an older weight. Perhaps they once carried you through a difficult life, and now you are given the chance to support them. Perhaps you once broke their trust, and now honesty becomes your greatest test. Perhaps one of you once abandoned the other, and the reunion has arrived so that both souls can finally understand the wound abandonment creates. But karmic balance is not achieved by repeating suffering. This is where many people misunderstand spiritual relationships. They believe that if a connection is karmic, they must tolerate pain until the debt is paid. They remain in harmful situations, thinking that suffering itself is purification. Yet endless suffering does not automatically clear karma. Sometimes it creates more of it. Karma begins to dissolve when awareness changes the response. Where there was cruelty, you choose compassion. Where there was control, you choose freedom. Where there was dishonesty, you choose truth. Where there was abandonment, you choose responsibility. And where there was self-destruction, you finally choose self-respect. The debt is not cleared because you suffered enough. It is cleared because you became conscious enough to stop repeating the same pattern. This is why certain relationships seem to repeat the same pain again and again. Different arguments appear, but the wound remains the same. One person keeps chasing, the other keeps withdrawing. One keeps rescuing, the other keeps taking. One keeps apologizing, the other keeps crossing the same boundary. The faces may be new, but the karmic structure is old. Eventually, life presents the lesson so clearly that you can no longer pretend not to see it. At that moment, the relationship becomes a spiritual test. Will you respond as you did before, or will you create a new ending? Perhaps the old version of you begged to be chosen. This time, you choose your dignity. Perhaps you once reacted with revenge. This time, you walk away without hatred. Perhaps you once remained silent. This time, you speak the truth calmly and clearly. That single change can transform the entire karmic bond. Some souls return not because they are meant to remain beside you forever, but because both of you are being given one more opportunity to correct what was once damaged. And when the debt has truly been balanced, something remarkable happens. The obsession weakens. The emotional heaviness begins to lift. You no longer feel trapped by invisible responsibility. You can love without fear, forgive without returning, and release without needing revenge. The bond becomes peaceful because the lesson has finally been understood. The soul that once returned carrying a debt can now leave carrying freedom. Lesson 4. Certain souls return to awaken the parts of you that are still sleeping. Some souls return not to give you comfort, but to reveal the person you have not yet become. Their arrival may disturb the life you carefully built. They may challenge your beliefs, expose your hidden fears, awaken emotions you buried long ago, or force you to confront truths you spent years avoiding. Before meeting them, you may believe you are patient, detached, confident, and healed. Then one conversation with them reveals how much anger, insecurity, attachment, or fear still lives inside you. This does not always mean the connection is wrong. Sometimes the soul before you has returned as a mirror. A mirror does not create what it shows. It reveals what was already present but remained unseen. In the same way, Certain people awaken reactions that were already hidden within your consciousness. Their words touch wounds they did not create. Their distance activates an ancient fear of abandonment. Their confidence exposes your self-doubt. Their freedom reveals how tightly you have been holding on. You may blame them for every emotion that rises, yet the deeper purpose of the meeting may be to show you what your soul is finally ready to heal. According to Vedic wisdom, evolution does not happen only through peace. It also happens through friction. A stone becomes smooth through pressure. Gold becomes pure through fire. The human soul often discovers its strength only when life brings it face to face with the exact weakness it can no longer avoid. This is why certain souls keep meeting across lifetimes. They become instruments in one another's growth. In one life, one soul may teach patience while the other learns discipline. In another life, the roles may reverse. The one who once depended may now become the protector. The one who once controlled may now be placed in a situation where they must learn surrender. The one who once refused love may return with a heart that finally understands its value. Their bond continues because their evolution is connected. You may meet someone who makes you feel deeply seen, yet also deeply uncomfortable. Their presence may remove the mask you wear before the world. Around them, your hidden emotions rise too quickly to control. You may experience unusual jealousy, vulnerability, fear, tenderness, or longing. The ego may ask, "Why does this person have so much power over me?" But the soul may be asking, "What are they revealing that I have not yet mastered?" Perhaps they are showing you that your love is still mixed with possession. Perhaps they reveal that your kindness is sometimes a way of avoiding rejection. Perhaps they expose your habit of remaining silent because you fear losing people. Perhaps they awaken the courage you buried beneath years of obedience. The connection becomes sacred not because it always feels beautiful, but because it brings hidden truth into the light. Yet this lesson requires great awareness. Not every painful relationship should be glorified as spiritual. Some people use the idea of karmic connection to justify manipulation, cruelty, and repeated harm. They say, "This person is my mirror, so I must endure everything." But a true mirror helps you see yourself more clearly. It does not demand that you remain where your spirit is being destroyed. You can receive the lesson without remaining trapped in the teacher. You can recognize what a person awakened within you and still choose distance. You can be grateful for the truth they revealed without giving them unlimited access to your life. Sometimes the greatest sign that the lesson has been learned is your ability to leave with clarity instead of staying through fear. This is one of the most difficult truths about returning souls. Some of them come to awaken you, not accompany you. They may enter during a time when you have forgotten your value. Their treatment forces you to rebuild your self-respect. They may disappear when you become dependent on their presence, teaching you to find stability within yourself. They may reject the version of you that constantly seeks approval, pushing you to become someone who no longer abandons their own truth. At first, you may believe they ruined your peace. Years later, you may realize they destroyed only the illusion that was preventing your growth. Certain souls become turning points in your spiritual journey. Before meeting them, you were living unconsciously, repeating the same patterns and calling them destiny. After meeting them, you can no longer return to who you were. They leave a question inside you that changes everything. Why did I accept so little? Why was I afraid to speak? Why did I confuse attachment with love? Why did I look for completion in another person? These questions are painful, but they are also doors. Once opened, they lead you toward a deeper understanding of yourself, and this may be why the same souls continue finding one another across lifetimes. They are not always returning to recreate an old romance or continue an ancient friendship. Sometimes they return because each soul carries a key to the other's awakening. One reveals the wound, the other reveals the possibility of healing. One challenges the old identity, the other creates the pressure required for transformation. And once the hidden lesson has been understood, The relationship may change completely. Conflict may turn into compassion. Dependence may become freedom. Fear may become courage, or the bond may simply end, because the mirror has completed its purpose. Do not assume that every soul who changes you must remain with you. Some souls stay long enough to love you, some stay long enough to test you, and some stay only long enough to awaken the part of you that was sleeping. Their departure does not make the connection meaningless. It may prove that the purpose was fulfilled, because sometimes a soul finds you again not to become part of your future, but to make sure you do not carry the same unconscious version of yourself into it. Lesson 5. Deep love creates a path that can survive death. Among all the forces that draw souls back toward one another, love leaves one of the deepest impressions. But the Vedas do not describe every strong attraction as sacred love. Desire can be powerful. Attachment can feel overwhelming. Loneliness can make a temporary connection appear eternal. Fear of losing someone can create an intensity so great that the mind begins calling it destiny. True soul-level love is different. It does not merely excite the senses. It changes the direction of consciousness. When two souls love one another with loyalty, sacrifice, truth, and genuine concern for each other's growth, that love does not remain only inside the events of one lifetime. It leaves a subtle imprint. The bodies may disappear, the relationship may end, and the world may forget their names, but the inner influence they created within one another can continue. One soul may have taught the other courage. One may have protected the other during a period of great suffering. One may have remained faithful when everyone else disappeared. One may have helped the other move away from darkness and toward wisdom. Such love becomes more than a memory. It becomes part of the soul's evolution. This is why certain people feel like home before they have earned that place in your present life. You may feel calmer in their presence. Silence with them may feel natural rather than empty. You may not need to explain every emotion because something in the connection seems to understand before words arrive. The mind may be confused by the speed of the bond. The soul may be responding to an old familiarity. Perhaps that person once stood beside you when your entire world was collapsing. Perhaps you once sacrificed something important to protect them. Perhaps you helped one another endure poverty, separation, illness, exile, or loss. The outer details are forgotten, but the tenderness created between the two souls remains. When they meet again, the ancient softness may awaken. Yet even this kind of recognition must be understood carefully. A familiar soul is not automatically a perfect partner. Two souls may carry deep love from another lifetime and still struggle in this one. They enter new families, inherit different fears, develop different personalities, and carry new karmic responsibilities. The connection may be ancient, but the human beings experiencing it are still imperfect. Recognition does not remove the need for honesty. Destiny does not cancel responsibility. Love does not excuse betrayal. This is where many people become trapped. They feel a deep bond and assume that its intensity proves they must remain together at any cost. They tolerate emotional neglect, dishonesty, control, or repeated disrespect because they fear losing someone who feels spiritually familiar. But sacred love never requires the destruction of your soul. A bond can be old and still need boundaries. A person can be important and still be unhealthy for your present path. A soul can feel familiar and still be unable to walk beside you in this lifetime. The purpose of reunion is not always to continue the same relationship. Sometimes it is to purify the way love is expressed. Perhaps in another lifetime, love between two souls became possessive. They held one another so tightly that affection turned into control. In this life, they may meet again to learn that love must allow freedom. Perhaps one soul once depended entirely on the other. Now they return so that dependence can become inner strength. Perhaps the bond was interrupted by death before gratitude could be expressed. This time, they meet so that appreciation can finally be spoken. Perhaps they once loved each other but remained silent because of fear, pride, family pressure, or social duty. In another life, they may be given a chance to choose truth instead of hesitation, but the new opportunity is not guaranteed to produce a happy ending. Souls may meet again, yet repeat the same fear. They may recognize the connection and still fail to honor it. Karma opens the door, but consciousness determines what happens after the meeting. This is one of the most powerful truths in Vedic wisdom. Reunion provides possibility, not certainty. Two souls may be brought together by ancient love, but they must still decide whether that love will become healing or another form of bondage. Attachment says, "You are mine, and without you, I am incomplete." Love says, "Your presence is precious, but your soul does not belong to me." Attachment creates fear because it depends on possession. Love creates gratitude because it recognizes that every meeting is a gift, not ownership. Attachment asks, "How can I keep you?" Love asks, "How can this bond help both of us become more truthful, compassionate, and free?" This difference reveals the true nature of the connection. A relationship rooted mainly in craving often narrows your life. You become anxious, suspicious, and emotionally dependent. You lose your purpose. You begin measuring your worth through the attention of another person. Their silence destroys your peace. Their distance makes you feel empty. You stop growing because your entire identity becomes tied to whether they stay. Such a connection may be karmic, but it has not yet become sacred. Higher love expands you. It encourages you to become more honest. It teaches patience without making you passive. It gives comfort without making you weak. It inspires devotion without demanding self-abandonment. It allows closeness, but it does not imprison either soul. When two souls meet again through this kind of love, their relationship becomes a place of spiritual practice. They begin seeing each other not merely as sources of pleasure or emotional security, but as companions in evolution. One helps the other recognize pride. One encourages the other to forgive. One brings discipline into the bond. One reminds the other not to lose sight of the divine while becoming attached to the human. Their love begins turning the mind inward, toward deeper understanding. This is why some soul connections seem to awaken spiritual hunger. Before meeting the person, you may have lived only for achievement, pleasure, or survival. After meeting them, you begin asking questions about meaning, karma, purpose, death, and the nature of love itself. The person does not simply enter your life. They awaken a door inside you. Perhaps their presence introduces you to prayer, meditation, sacred study, compassion, or self-inquiry. Perhaps losing them forces you to seek a peace that no human being can permanently provide. Perhaps loving them teaches you that the heart is capable of far more tenderness than you ever believed. Even if the relationship does not last, the spiritual awakening may remain. This is why duration cannot always measure the depth of love. Some souls spend an entire lifetime together, yet never truly see one another. Others meet briefly and change each other forever. A few months can awaken what decades of ordinary living could not. One conversation can create a turning point. One act of kindness can restore faith in life. One painful goodbye can begin the deepest spiritual journey a person has ever known. The ego judges love by whether the person stayed. The soul judges it by what the meeting awakened. This does not mean loss should be romanticized. Separation can be devastating. When a person feels deeply familiar, losing them may feel like losing more than one relationship. The grief can seem older than the present event because the bond may carry impressions from previous experiences. You may mourn not only who they were in this life, but something you cannot name. This is why some separations feel disproportionately painful. The mind sees one goodbye. The deeper self may feel the ending of a much longer story. Yet even here, love has another lesson to teach. If the connection is truly sacred, its highest purpose cannot be to keep you imprisoned in grief forever. Love may ask you to honor the person, but it will also ask you to continue evolving. It will not demand that you stop living simply because the physical relationship has changed. A soul may leave your life while its influence remains. The courage they awakened can remain. The tenderness they taught can remain. The truth you discovered through them can remain. Their body may no longer be beside you, yet the love may continue as wisdom. This is how sacred bonds survive separation without becoming obsession. You no longer hold the person through fear. You carry the blessing of what they awakened. And sometimes, Vedic thought suggests that souls who share such pure bonds may be drawn together again when their journeys require it. Not because they are incomplete without one another, but because their presence helps each other move forward. They may meet again as family, friends, teachers, protectors, companions, or strangers whose brief kindness changes the direction of a life. The role matters less than the inner recognition. Love adapts. The body changes. The relationship changes. But the deeper intention to support one another's growth may continue. Still, there comes a stage when even the most beautiful bond must be freed from attachment. No human relationship can become the final destination of the soul. Every person, however beloved, is also passing through change. Bodies age, circumstances shift, responsibilities pull people in different directions, and death eventually touches every physical form. If your peace depends entirely on one person never changing or leaving, then love has become fear. The higher teaching is to love deeply while remembering impermanence. This does not make love cold, it makes love more precious. You stop taking the person for granted. You stop treating their presence as property. You become grateful for every moment without demanding that life guarantee forever. You understand that the soul before you has its own karma, its own lessons, and its own path toward liberation. Your role is not to possess that journey. Your role is to honor it. This is perhaps the most mature expression of a bond that has crossed lifetimes. Two souls may recognize one another deeply, yet neither says, "You exist to complete me." Instead, they say through their actions, "May our meeting help both of us become more awake." If they remain together, their love becomes a path of growth. If they must separate, their love becomes a path of surrender. If they meet again, they do not return merely to repeat longing. They return with another opportunity to turn attachment into freedom, desire into devotion, and emotional dependence into conscious companionship. Certain souls keep finding one another because love has created a pathway between them. But the purpose of that pathway is not endless possession. It is transformation. The same souls may meet repeatedly until their love becomes pure enough that neither tries to own the other or use the connection to escape inner emptiness. They keep returning until love no longer says, "Do not leave me." It begins to say, "May you become who your soul came here to become." And when two souls can love in that way, the bond no longer becomes another chain in the cycle of rebirth. It becomes a light guiding both of them toward freedom. Lesson 6. Some souls keep returning until the same pain is finally transformed. Not every soul that feels familiar returns carrying peace. Some souls return carrying a wound. Their presence does not feel gentle or simple. From the beginning, the connection may be filled with unusual intensity. You may feel drawn toward them even when your mind warns you to remain careful. Their attention can make you feel alive, yet their distance can disturb your entire inner world. You may try to leave, but something pulls you back. You may forgive them repeatedly, hoping that the next return will finally create the ending your heart has been waiting for. The relationship may feel too powerful to be ordinary. Because of that intensity, you may believe it must be sacred. But according to Vedic wisdom, intensity alone does not prove that two souls are meant to remain together. Sometimes intensity is created by unresolved karma. The connection feels powerful not because it is already pure, but because something between the souls is still demanding awareness. A peaceful connection may whisper, An unfinished karmic bond often shouts. It enters your life with confusion, longing, resistance, fear, attachment, and emotional force. It does not allow you to remain unconscious. It touches the exact place within you that still carries an unhealed pattern. This is why some souls keep finding one another across lifetimes. They are not always returning to continue an ancient love story. Sometimes they return because both souls keep repeating the same wound without understanding its lesson. Perhaps one soul continues controlling while the other continues surrendering their voice. Perhaps one continues abandoning while the other continues chasing. Perhaps one keeps withholding love while the other keeps begging to receive it. Perhaps one keeps betraying trust while the other keeps ignoring the truth because separation feels more frightening than dishonesty. The bodies change, the names change, the circumstances change, but the pattern remains. In one lifetime, the relationship may appear between husband and wife. In another, the same structure may return between parent and child, teacher and student, close friends, siblings, or even rivals. The outer role is not always the same because karma is concerned less with appearances and more with consciousness. The lesson follows the soul until the response changes. Imagine a soul that has repeatedly learned to survive by remaining silent. In one life, it may have lived under the authority of someone whose approval determined everything. It learned that speaking truth created danger, so silence became protection. The lifetime ended, but the pattern of silence remained deeply impressed. In another life, that soul may meet someone who again ignores its boundaries, dismisses its needs, or demands obedience. The situation may look different, but the inner test is familiar. Will the soul disappear into silence again, or will it finally speak? This is how karmic repetition works. Life does not necessarily return the same person in the same form. It returns the same spiritual question until consciousness is ready to answer differently. Sometimes, however, the same souls do meet again because both are involved in the unfinished pattern. The controlling soul may return because it must learn that love cannot be created through domination. The silent soul may return because it must discover the dignity of its own voice. One cannot complete the lesson without confronting control. The other cannot complete it without confronting fear. Their meeting becomes the stage on which both lessons are revealed, but revelation does not guarantee transformation. Two souls can meet repeatedly and still fail to change. They may feel the familiarity, the attraction, the emotional pull, and the strange sense that destiny has brought them together. Yet instead of becoming conscious, they repeat the same reactions. One becomes possessive, the other begins hiding. One threatens to leave, the other starts begging. One creates pain, the other mistakes forgiveness for permission. The relationship continues until both are exhausted, but exhaustion alone does not end the karma. The pattern can remain active as long as neither soul understands what must change. This is why some relationships feel like circles. The people separate, but they do not become free. They return, but nothing has transformed. They apologize, but the same behavior continues. They promise to begin again, but they carry the same fear, the same pride, the same attachment, and the same unconscious expectations into the new beginning. The relationship changes its language, but not its structure. The argument may be about time, trust, family, attention, loyalty, or distance. Yet underneath every conflict lies the same ancient wound. One person is afraid of being abandoned. The other is afraid of being controlled. One person wants closeness to escape inner emptiness. The other creates distance to escape vulnerability. One reaches harder, the other withdraws further. Both believe the other is creating the entire problem, but each is participating in the karmic dance. This does not mean blame should be divided equally in every harmful relationship. Some actions are clearly abusive, dishonest, or destructive. Spiritual language should never be used to hide wrongdoing or pressure someone into accepting mistreatment. But even when another person is responsible for causing harm, you still possess the power to end your participation in the pattern. You may not control their consciousness, you can transform your own response. This is one of the most liberating teachings hidden within karmic relationships. You do not have to wait for the other soul to awaken before you become free. You do not need their apology before you stop carrying hatred. You do not need their understanding before you honor your own truth. You do not need them to change before you stop repeating the role that has kept you trapped. Many people believe karmic completion means both souls must reach enlightenment together, forgive each other at the same moment, and walk away peacefully with perfect understanding. But life is rarely so simple. Sometimes one soul learns, while the other refuses. One becomes conscious, while the other clings more tightly to the old pattern. One chooses truth, while the other continues manipulation. One says, "This cycle ends here," while the other tries to pull the relationship back into the same familiar pain. At that moment, the awakened response may appear harsh to the person who benefited from your unconsciousness. Your boundary may be called cruelty. Your silence may be called arrogance. Your departure may be called betrayal. Your self-respect may be called selfishness. But when you stop fulfilling the role that allowed the old pattern to survive, resistance is natural. The karmic structure begins collapsing. The person who controlled you may accuse you of changing. The person who repeatedly abandoned you may return only when you stop chasing. The person who depended on your endless forgiveness may become angry when forgiveness is no longer followed by access. This is not proof that your growth is wrong. It may be proof that the relationship can no longer function in the old way. Some bonds survive transformation. Others survive only through repetition. When you become conscious, you discover which one you are facing. A relationship capable of becoming sacred will respond to truth, even if the process is difficult. Both people may struggle, but there will be accountability, there will be effort. There will be a willingness to examine behavior rather than constantly blaming fate, trauma, karma, or the other person. A relationship built entirely upon unconscious roles will resist every attempt at change. The controller does not want equality. The rescuer does not know who they are without someone to save. The victim may fear the responsibility that comes with reclaiming power. The one who chases may feel empty without someone to pursue. The one who withdraws may mistake emotional distance for freedom. Both souls may claim they want peace, yet continue protecting the very identities that create suffering. This is why certain painful connections can last for years. The relationship is not held together only by love. It is held together by identity. One person thinks, "I am the one who must keep everything together." The other thinks, "I am the one who can leave and return whenever I want." One believes, "My value comes from being needed." The other believes, "I remain powerful as long as they fear losing me." These identities may have been formed long before the present relationship. They may come from childhood, social conditioning, earlier experiences, or, according to Vedic thought, impressions carried from previous lives. The souls meet again because the relationship makes those hidden identities visible. Yet visibility is only the beginning. The real question is whether the soul is willing to release the identity it has carried for so long. Can the rescuer stop rescuing? Can the controller surrender control? Can the one who was silenced speak without becoming cruel? Can the one who was abandoned stop abandoning themselves? Can the one who caused pain face responsibility without escaping into shame or denial? Can both people learn that love without awareness becomes another form of bondage? Until these questions are answered, the same pattern may continue appearing in different relationships. This is why a person may leave one painful partner only to meet another with a different face, but the same emotional effect. The first person was controlling. The next is emotionally unavailable. The third is charming but unreliable. Their personalities appear different, but each activates the same inner wound, the fear that love must be earned by suffering. The soul is not being punished by the universe. It is being shown the place where consciousness has not yet become free. This is one of the most difficult truths to accept, because the mind prefers to believe that the problem exists entirely outside itself. It says, "I keep meeting the wrong people." The deeper question is, what familiar pattern keeps making the wrong person feel right? Why does chaos feel like passion? Why does emotional unavailability feel mysterious? Why does inconsistency create stronger attachment than peace? Why does being chosen by someone difficult feel more valuable than being loved by someone stable? These questions do not blame the wounded person. They reveal the doorway to freedom. A person may not be responsible for the wound they received, but healing becomes their responsibility once they become aware of it. Otherwise, the wound continues choosing on their behalf. It chooses who feels attractive. It chooses what behavior is tolerated. It chooses which warning signs are ignored. It chooses how long the person remains after their dignity has begun to disappear. The conscious mind says, "I want love." The unresolved wound says, "Give me what feels familiar." This is how painful souls keep finding one another. Familiarity can feel safer than peace, even when familiarity is painful. The soul may recognize an old pattern and mistake recognition for belonging, but recognition is not always an invitation to continue. Sometimes it is an invitation to finally end. This is where Vedic non-attachment becomes essential. Non-attachment does not mean becoming cold, uncaring, or incapable of love. It means seeing clearly without allowing craving and fear to control your actions. When you are attached, you do not see the person as they are. You see the future you want them to provide. You see the apology you hope they will one day give. You see the version of them that appears briefly between periods of pain. You see their potential and call it their character. You become loyal not to reality, but to possibility. This is why letting go feels so difficult. You are not releasing only the person. You are releasing the imagined ending that kept you waiting. The soul may have returned hoping to create a new ending, but a new ending cannot be built by repeating the same behavior. Sometimes the new ending is not reconciliation. Sometimes it is acceptance. You accept that the person may never become who you hoped. You accept that the connection was meaningful, but not healthy. You accept that love existed, yet love alone was not enough to create honesty, maturity, or mutual respect. You accept that a relationship can be spiritually significant and still need to end. This acceptance breaks one of the strongest karmic chains, the belief that meaning requires permanence. A soul may be important because it awakened you. Its role does not become meaningless simply because it cannot continue. Some people enter your life to help you experience love. Others enter to show you where you still confuse love with sacrifice. Some return to teach you forgiveness. Others return to teach you that forgiveness does not require renewed access. Some come to help you trust. Others come to teach you to stop giving trust where truth is repeatedly absent. Some return so you can finish a story together. Others return so you can stop writing the same story. The spiritual maturity lies in knowing the difference. Many painful karmic bonds are sustained by the hope that suffering will eventually be rewarded. You tell yourself that if you remain patient enough, loving enough, forgiving enough, or spiritually understanding enough, the person will finally recognize your value. You imagine that the universe will one day transform every wound into the relationship you dreamed of. But patience without wisdom can become self-abandonment. Forgiveness without boundaries can become permission. Compassion without discernment can become captivity. The Vedic path does not ask you to become blind in the name of love. It asks you to see the divine within all beings while still understanding the nature of their actions. You may recognize the deeper soul within someone and still refuse the behavior of their present personality. You may hold compassion for their wounds and still protect yourself from the harm those wounds create. You may understand that their cruelty comes from ignorance and still decide that ignorance cannot remain close to you. Spiritual understanding should increase clarity, not remove it. A painful soul connection becomes transformative when you stop asking only, "How can I keep this person?" and begin asking, "What must become conscious within me?" Perhaps you must learn to stop explaining your value to someone committed to misunderstanding it. Perhaps you must stop calling repeated betrayal a mistake. Perhaps you must learn that loneliness is less painful than losing yourself inside a relationship. Perhaps you must recognize that love cannot be measured by how much pain you are willing to endure. Perhaps your greatest karmic lesson is not to receive their love. It is to choose your own soul. This does not mean becoming selfish. It means refusing to sacrifice your inner truth merely to preserve an outer bond. The soul does not evolve by remaining loyal to suffering. It evolves by becoming conscious of suffering's cause. When awareness deepens, you begin noticing the moment the old cycle tries to begin again. You recognize the charm that once made you ignore inconsistency. You notice the guilt that once made you abandon your boundary. You feel the fear that once forced you to chase someone who was withdrawing. But now there is a space between the feeling and your response. That space is freedom. The old version of you reacted immediately. The conscious version observes. The old version begged. The conscious version breathes. The old version accepted words without examining actions. The conscious version watches whether truth is repeated through behavior. The old version feared losing the relationship. The conscious version fears losing itself. This change may appear small from the outside, but spiritually it is enormous. A single conscious response can complete a pattern repeated across years, generations, or, according to Vedic understanding, lifetimes. The karmic cycle does not break when the other person finally behaves perfectly. It breaks when their behavior no longer controls your consciousness. They may still leave. They may still return. They may still attempt to awaken the old fear. But you no longer become the same person in response. Their silence does not make you betray yourself. Their rejection does not erase your worth. Their attention does not become your entire identity. Their return does not automatically reopen the door. The bond may still carry emotion, but it no longer carries power over your deepest center. This is how karma becomes wisdom. The experience does not disappear. It is transformed. Pain becomes discernment. Abandonment becomes self-presence. Betrayal becomes clarity. Silence becomes voice. Dependence becomes inner stability. Anger becomes boundary. Grief becomes compassion. The soul does not need to erase the past. It uses the past as material for awakening. Sometimes both souls transform together. This is one of the most beautiful possibilities within a karmic bond. The person who once controlled begins facing their fear. The person who once remained silent begins speaking honestly. Both stop protecting their pride and begin protecting the truth. They no longer use separation as a weapon. They no longer use affection as a reward. They no longer test each other's love through pain. The relationship becomes slower, clearer, and more responsible. The intensity may decrease, but the depth increases. This can confuse people who have mistaken emotional chaos for passion. Healthy love may initially feel less powerful because it does not constantly activate fear. But peace is not emptiness. Consistency is not boredom. Respect is not a lack of desire. Sometimes the relationship finally becomes beautiful when both souls stop needing it to feel dramatic. They begin choosing each other consciously rather than being dragged together by unresolved wounds. The karmic bond becomes dharmic. It moves from compulsion toward purpose, from fear toward responsibility, from possession toward partnership, from unconscious repetition toward mutual growth. Yet this transformation requires both people to participate. One soul cannot build a conscious relationship alone. You can offer truth, compassion, patience, and accountability, but you cannot do another person's awakening for them. You cannot heal someone by allowing them to keep hurting you. You cannot teach honesty by endlessly accepting lies. You cannot create maturity by carrying responsibilities another person refuses to face. Sometimes love must stop rescuing so the other soul can finally encounter the consequences of its own choices. This can feel cruel when you have built your identity around saving them, but constant rescue can delay another soul's lesson. By protecting someone from every consequence, you may unknowingly help their unconsciousness survive. Letting them face reality can become a deeper form of compassion than repeatedly repairing what they choose to break. This does not guarantee they will change. They may blame you. They may immediately search for another person willing to play the role you abandoned. They may continue repeating the pattern for years, but their decision is no longer your karma to carry. Your responsibility is to respond with as much truth and awareness as you possess. Sometimes this means staying and rebuilding. Sometimes it means stepping back. Sometimes it means ending contact completely. No single action is spiritually correct in every situation. The deeper question is the consciousness behind the action. Are you staying because love is becoming healthier, or because fear prevents you from leaving? Are you leaving from clarity, or only to punish the person and force them to chase you? Are you forgiving because your heart is free, or because you are afraid to lose the bond? Are you setting a boundary to protect truth, or using distance to control the other person? The same outer action can carry very different karma depending on the inner intention. This is why self-honesty is essential. You cannot break an ancient pattern through a new form of the same manipulation. Leaving to make them suffer is still bondage. Staying to make yourself appear spiritually superior is still ego. Forgiving only so you can remind them forever is not release. True transformation requires honesty without performance. You choose the higher action even when no one praises you for it. You stop explaining your growth to people who only want the old version of you. You allow misunderstanding without rushing to defend yourself. You accept that some people will describe your awakening as betrayal because your unconsciousness once served them. This is one of the prices of freedom. The person who benefited from your lack of boundaries may not celebrate your healing. The person who relied on your fear may resist your courage. The person who could always return without accountability may resent the closed door. But spiritual growth is not measured by whether everyone remains comfortable with you. It is measured by whether your consciousness becomes more truthful. When the same soul returns again and again, it may be asking one final question. Will you choose the old attachment, or will you choose awareness? This question can appear during a reunion. Someone from your past returns after months or years. They speak with tenderness. They say they have changed. The old emotions awaken immediately. The mind begins remembering only the beautiful moments. The wound begins hoping for a different ending. At this moment, the lesson is not to reject the person automatically, nor is it to accept them automatically. The lesson is to see, has their consciousness changed, or only their language? Do their actions carry responsibility? Can they name the harm without blaming you for causing it? Are they willing to rebuild trust slowly? Do they respect your boundaries, or become angry that access is no longer immediate? Have you changed, or are you only lonely? Are you meeting them as the person you are now, or returning to the identity you had when the relationship began? A reunion becomes sacred when both souls arrive differently. Otherwise, it is only repetition wearing the clothing of hope. Sometimes the greatest proof that karma has been completed is that you can meet the person again without losing yourself. You may still care, you may still remember, you may still feel tenderness, but you do not feel compelled to recreate what destroyed your peace. You can see them without needing possession. You can hear their apology without needing a future. You can wish them well without walking beside them. The emotional storm has become quiet. This quietness is not indifference, it is completion. The bond no longer demands an answer because your consciousness has found one. You understand why they came. You understand what they revealed. You understand what you lost, what you learned, and what you can no longer become again. The person may leave your life forever, but the lesson remains as strength. This is how a painful returning soul becomes part of liberation. It forces you to meet the place within yourself that was still imprisoned. It shows you the chain. It may even tighten the chain until you can no longer ignore it. But the decision to break it remains yours. And once it breaks, the pain begins changing its meaning. You no longer say, "Why did the universe send this person to destroy me?" You begin asking, "What did this connection force me to remember about my own soul?" Perhaps it reminded you that your value cannot be negotiated. Perhaps it taught you that love without truth is only attachment. Perhaps it revealed that a familiar soul is not always a safe soul. Perhaps it showed you that compassion must include yourself. Perhaps it taught you that peace is not found when another person finally chooses you. Peace begins when you stop abandoning yourself in order to be chosen. This realization can end a cycle older than the present relationship. The wound may have traveled through family lines, passed from parent to child, repeated through marriages, friendships, and generations. People may have called it tradition, loyalty, sacrifice, or destiny. Then one soul becomes conscious enough to say, "It ends with me." That decision is not merely personal. It changes what is carried forward. A person who heals the fear of abandonment may stop teaching their children to beg for love. A person who breaks the pattern of control may create relationships based on freedom. A person who learns to speak may give others permission to speak. A person who refuses cruelty without becoming cruel may end a cycle of revenge. This is how individual awakening becomes collective healing. The painful soul who returned may have played a role in that transformation, even if they never understood it. Their actions forced a choice. The suffering brought the hidden pattern to the surface. The relationship became the fire through which a new consciousness was formed. This does not mean you must thank someone for harming you. It means their harm does not receive the final word. You transform what happened into wisdom they cannot take from you. You become more discerning without becoming bitter. You become stronger without becoming hard. You become compassionate without becoming available for mistreatment. You learn to love without losing sight of reality. Then the karmic purpose has been fulfilled at a higher level. Certain souls keep finding each other because unfinished pain has a strange gravity. It pulls them together until one or both become conscious enough to transform it. They may meet through attraction. They may clash through conflict. They may separate through grief. They may return through longing. But beneath every cycle lies the same invitation. Do not repeat what you are now capable of understanding. You are not required to continue a pattern simply because it feels ancient. You are not required to remain attached simply because the meeting felt destined. You are not required to call suffering sacred simply because it changed you. The highest meaning of a karmic bond is not that it must continue forever. Its highest meaning is that it gives consciousness another opportunity to choose freedom. Perhaps the souls will meet again, perhaps they will not. But if they do, they may no longer meet as wounded people trying to complete themselves through one another. They may meet with greater awareness. They may recognize the old energy without becoming controlled by it. They may offer forgiveness where there was once revenge. They may offer distance where there was once dependence. They may offer peace where there was once conflict. Or they may pass one another without creating another chain. That too can be a sacred ending. Because some souls do not keep finding each other so they can remain together. They keep finding each other until the same pain no longer produces the same response. They return until the abandoned soul stops chasing. Until the controlling soul releases possession. Until the wounded soul stops turning pain into pain for others. Until the silent soul discovers its voice. Until love becomes clearer than fear. Until awareness becomes stronger than attachment. And when that transformation finally occurs, the bond loses its power to imprison. The ancient wound becomes an ancient lesson. The repeated story reaches its final page. The souls may still remember one another through subtle feeling, but they are no longer chained by unfinished suffering. One or both have finally understood why they kept returning, not to suffer forever, not to endlessly repair what refused to change, not to prove love through pain. They returned so that one day consciousness would become strong enough to say, "This cycle has taught me everything it came to teach. I release the pain, I keep the wisdom, and I choose a different path." In that moment, karma is no longer a chain pulling two souls backward. It becomes the doorway through which at least one of them finally walks toward freedom. Lesson 7. Certain souls keep finding each other until they help one another move toward liberation. The deepest reason certain souls keep meeting is not romance, attachment, repayment, comfort, or even healing. It is liberation. Every other purpose eventually leads toward this final one. A soul may return to complete a promise, balance karma, heal an ancient wound, awaken hidden strength, or transform attachment into love. But beneath all these visible purposes lies a greater movement. Each meeting is trying to bring consciousness closer to truth. According to Vedic wisdom, the soul passes through many experiences, identities, relationships, pleasures, losses, victories, and failures. It enters different bodies, carries different names, belongs to different families, and accepts different roles. In one life, it may be powerful. In another, it may experience helplessness. In one life, it may be deeply loved. In another, it may learn through separation. Yet through every change, the soul is moving toward one realization. It is not merely the body. It is not the social role. It is not the temporary personality. It is not the success it achieved, the suffering it endured, or the relationship it possessed. Its deepest nature is greater than every passing identity. But this realization does not always arise through isolation. Often, another soul becomes the doorway through which it begins. Certain people awaken questions within you that ordinary life never could. Before meeting them, you may be completely absorbed in the material world. You may live only for achievement, recognition, money, security, pleasure, or approval. Your days may be filled with activity, yet your deeper consciousness remains asleep. Then someone appears. Perhaps they love you in a way you never expected. Perhaps they leave you when you believed they would remain forever. Perhaps they challenge everything you think you know about yourself. Perhaps their suffering awakens compassion. Perhaps their death forces you to question what survives the body. Perhaps their presence makes you feel that life contains a mystery deeper than anything visible. That person does not merely become part of your story. They change the questions you are asking. And when the questions change, the direction of the soul begins to change. You may begin wondering why certain connections feel older than memory. You may ask why love can feel so powerful when every physical form is temporary. You may question why the loss of one person can completely transform the meaning of your life. You may begin searching for teachings about karma, reincarnation, consciousness, death, duty, devotion, and liberation. What appeared to be only a relationship becomes the beginning of a spiritual journey. This is why certain souls keep finding each other. They are not always returning merely to repeat a relationship. They may be returning because one soul carries the exact experience that can awaken the other from spiritual sleep. One soul becomes the question, the other begins searching for the answer. One soul creates the wound, the other begins the path of healing. One soul offers unconditional compassion, the other remembers that love can exist without possession. One soul leaves the world, the other begins searching for what death cannot destroy. Their meeting becomes part of a much greater design. From the human perspective, you may believe that the purpose of a connection is to remain together. You imagine that if a soul has found you across lifetimes, the highest outcome must be permanent companionship. But spiritual purpose is not measured only by physical duration. Two souls may remain together for decades and never move beyond attachment. They may build a home, share responsibilities, raise children, grow old, and still remain trapped in fear, control, jealousy, resentment, and unconscious dependence. Another pair of souls may meet for a brief period, yet one conversation between them awakens a realization that changes the direction of an entire lifetime. Which connection was deeper? The mind measures time, the soul measures transformation. A relationship may last 1 year, but open the path toward truth. Another may last 50 years, while both people continue repeating the same ignorance. Duration does not reveal spiritual significance. The real question is what the meeting creates within consciousness. Does it make you more awake? Does it help you see yourself clearly? Does it deepen compassion without weakening discernment? Does it teach love without possession? Does it free you from an illusion? Does it move you closer to your deepest nature? If so, the connection may be serving liberation, even if it does not remain in the form you expected. This truth can be difficult because human beings naturally become attached to form. You do not love only the invisible soul. You love the face, the voice, the habits, the laughter, the presence, the way someone enters a room, the way they speak your name, and the way their existence becomes woven into the pattern of your day. When that form disappears, grief arises. You may understand spiritually that the soul continues, yet the heart still longs for the familiar body. Vedic wisdom does not demand that you deny this grief. It asks you to look through it. Loss reveals how deeply you have identified love with physical presence. It teaches you that even the most precious form cannot remain forever. This is not a cruel lesson. It is an invitation to discover a love that is deeper than form. When two souls meet repeatedly, they may initially relate through attachment. They need each other to feel complete. They fear separation. They become possessive. They define their identity through the bond. In one lifetime, this attachment may create jealousy. In another, it may create dependence. In another, it may create unbearable grief. The souls continue meeting because the connection contains a deeper possibility. They must gradually learn to love without turning love into bondage. At first, one says, "You belong to me." Later, the soul learns to say, "You have your own journey." At first it says, "Without you, I am nothing." Later it discovers, "My deepest self existed before this meeting and will remain after every separation." At first it says, "If you love me, you must never change." Later it understands, love must allow both souls to evolve. At first it demands permanence from a temporary form. Later it becomes grateful for the sacred moment in which two journeys crossed. This transformation may require many meetings. Attachment is not always purified in a single life. The same souls may return through different roles, so that love can be experienced from many perspectives. A soul that once demanded possession may return as a parent who must eventually release a child into the world. A soul that once abandoned responsibility may return as someone whose entire life depends on learning loyalty. A soul that once received endless care may return as a caregiver. A soul that once refused forgiveness may return in circumstances where it deeply needs mercy. The roles are rearranged so that consciousness can become more complete. This is not punishment, it is education. The soul learns through experience what the intellect alone cannot fully understand. A person may speak beautifully about compassion, yet until they have stood before someone who wounded them, they may not know whether compassion truly lives within them. Someone may praise non-attachment, yet until life removes what they most love, they may not understand what surrender requires. A person may claim to value freedom, yet until someone they love chooses a different path, they may discover how much possession was hidden inside their love. Relationships reveal the distance between spiritual ideas and lived consciousness. This is why certain souls become one another's most powerful teachers. They do not always teach through instruction. Sometimes they teach through presence, sometimes through absence, sometimes through devotion, sometimes through disappointment, sometimes through staying, sometimes through leaving, sometimes through giving you what you prayed for, sometimes through refusing to become what your attachment demanded. Every response becomes part of the lesson. One soul may return to reveal that love cannot save someone who refuses to awaken. Another may return to reveal that you are not responsible for carrying every person you care about. One may teach that forgiveness is possible. Another may teach that forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. One may awaken your heart, another may awaken your boundaries. One may teach you to trust. Another may teach you to trust your own discernment. One may become the answer to a prayer. Another may become the reason you stop praying only for what your ego wants. Through all these meetings, the soul slowly becomes wiser, but liberation requires more than wisdom about relationships. It requires freedom from the illusion that another person can become your final source of completeness. This does not mean relationships are unimportant. They are among the most sacred experiences available to human consciousness. But they cannot replace realization of the self. Even the most loving person cannot permanently protect you from change, aging, uncertainty, and death. Even the most faithful companion cannot enter every inner chamber of your consciousness. There are moments of pain, decision, surrender, and awakening that each soul must face alone. Another person may hold your hand at the doorway. They cannot walk through the deepest doorway for you. This is why sacred connections eventually turn the soul inward. At first, you may seek the divine through another person. Their love makes life feel meaningful. Their presence creates peace. Their words awaken devotion. But gradually, you must discover the source from which that love came. The person was not the creator of love. They became an instrument through which love was revealed. The peace you experienced around them was not exclusively their possession. Their presence helped awaken a peace that was already possible within your own consciousness. The beauty you saw in them reflected your own capacity to perceive beauty. The devotion you felt revealed the depth of your own heart. This does not reduce the importance of the person. It reveals the greater purpose of the meeting. They helped you discover something that could not remain dependent upon them forever. A spiritual relationship says, "Let my presence remind you of what is eternal." An attachment-based relationship says, "Make me the center of your existence." One leads toward freedom. The other deepens bondage. Certain souls may meet repeatedly because they have not yet learned the difference. They keep making each other into idols. They keep expecting a human being to provide absolute security, permanent happiness, endless attention, complete understanding, and protection from loneliness. No person can carry such a burden. Eventually, disappointment enters. The person changes. They fail. They become tired. They cannot meet every expectation. The mind says, "They no longer love me." But sometimes the deeper problem is that the relationship was asked to provide what only inner realization can provide. The same disappointment may repeat across lifetimes until the soul stops demanding infinity from a temporary form. This is not an argument against deep love. It is an invitation to make love purer. When you stop expecting another person to complete your existence, you can finally see them clearly. You no longer love only what they give you. You begin honoring who they are. You no longer demand that they remain frozen in the role that comforts you. You allow them to grow. You no longer turn their attention into proof of your worth. You develop a relationship with your own soul. Then companionship becomes a choice rather than an emotional dependency. Two people remain together not because they are terrified of being alone, but because their shared path creates meaning, service, growth, and truth. This is the point at which karmic connection can become dharmic connection. karmic connection often begins through compulsion. You feel pulled toward the person. The emotions are intense. Old patterns awaken. The bond seems impossible to ignore. Dharmic connection develops through conscious purpose. Both souls begin asking how their meeting can serve something higher than personal craving. Can they create peace rather than drama? Can they support one another's duties? Can they raise children with wisdom rather than repeating inherited wounds? Can they serve their community? Can they protect truth? Can they help one another become less selfish, less fearful, and more compassionate? Can the relationship become a path rather than a prison? When two souls begin living this way, love becomes spiritual practice. Every disagreement becomes an opportunity to observe the ego. Every act of forgiveness becomes purification. Every boundary becomes a protection of truth. Every sacrifice becomes meaningful when it is chosen consciously rather than demanded through guilt. Every period of separation becomes a lesson in inner stability. Every reunion becomes an opportunity for gratitude. The relationship stops revolving entirely around emotional satisfaction. It begins serving awakening. This does not make the bond emotionless. It makes the emotions more truthful. There is tenderness, but not blindness. There is devotion, but not self-erasure. There is loyalty, but not denial of harm. There is closeness, but not possession. There is sacrifice, but not the destruction of one soul for the comfort of another. Both people become responsible for the quality of consciousness they bring into the bond. This type of relationship is rare because it demands maturity from both souls. It is easier to call attachment love. It is easier to blame destiny. It is easier to repeat familiar roles. It is easier to ask the other person to change than to observe the ego within yourself. A conscious connection requires both people to keep asking, am I acting from love or from fear? Am I serving truth or protecting my pride? Am I listening or only waiting to defend myself? Am I helping this soul grow or trying to keep them dependent on me? Am I staying because the bond is sacred or because I am afraid of the unknown? Am I leaving because it is necessary or because I want to punish them? These questions prevent spiritual ideas from becoming excuses. Without self-inquiry, people can misuse the language of soul connections. They can call control protection. They can call obsession devotion. They can call dependency loyalty. They can call repeated suffering a divine test. But liberation requires truth. The soul cannot become free while hiding from reality behind beautiful spiritual language. A connection is not sacred because it is intense. It becomes sacred when it produces greater consciousness. It is not sacred because you suffered for it. It becomes sacred when suffering is transformed into wisdom. It is not sacred because you cannot leave. Sometimes your inability to leave reveals bondage rather than destiny. It is not sacred because you believe you knew the person in another life. What matters is how both of you live in this one. This present lifetime is where the lesson is being offered. People can become so fascinated with past life identity that they neglect present responsibility. They ask, who was this person to me before? But they avoid asking, how are we treating each other now? They want to know whether the person was a lover, spouse, child, teacher, or enemy in another incarnation. But the more important question is whether the current connection is producing truth, dignity, compassion, and awareness. Even if you knew every past life detail, that knowledge would not automatically free you. You could discover that someone was your beloved companion across several lifetimes and still remain trapped in jealousy and fear. You could learn that someone once harmed you and use that knowledge to justify hatred in the present. Information is not liberation, awareness is. The purpose of understanding karmic connections is not to become obsessed with invisible history. It is to respond more consciously to the relationship before you now. Perhaps the reason a soul feels familiar is less important than the opportunity the meeting creates. Will you repeat the old fear? Will you recreate the old attachment? Will you again choose silence over truth? Will you again confuse suffering with love? Or will this lifetime become the place where the pattern changes? The present moment is where ancient karma becomes either another chain or a doorway. Certain souls keep finding each other because, at some point, they must stop living only through memory and begin choosing consciously. The old connection may have brought them together. Their present choices determine whether they become free. This is why free will remains important within karmic encounters. Karma may create circumstances. It may bring a person into your path. It may awaken powerful emotions. It may place you before a familiar test. But karma does not remove the possibility of conscious action. You are not condemned to repeat the past. The meeting may be influenced by previous causes, but the response can create a new direction. This is one of the most hopeful teachings within the idea of recurring souls. You are not trapped by an ancient story. You have been given another chance to write its ending differently. Perhaps two souls once destroyed each other through pride. In this lifetime, one of them chooses humility. Perhaps they once separated through fear. Now one chooses courage. Perhaps they once remained together through dependency. Now they learn inner strength. Perhaps they once caused suffering through possessiveness. Now they practice freedom. Perhaps they once left with hatred. Now they separate with forgiveness. A single conscious choice can redirect a relationship that has repeated for a very long time. The most important moment may not be the meeting itself. It may be the moment one soul refuses to continue the old pattern. That refusal can become an act of love. You may love someone enough not to participate in their self-destruction. You may love them enough not to reward dishonesty. You may love them enough to allow them to experience consequences. You may love yourself enough not to disappear inside the bond. You may love the truth enough to let the relationship change form. Human attachment often believes love means holding on. Spiritual love sometimes knows when to release. Holding and releasing are not opposites when both arise from wisdom. There are times when staying requires courage. There are times when leaving requires courage. There are times when rebuilding is the higher path. There are times when ending contact is the higher path. There is no single outer action that defines liberation. The consciousness behind the action matters. Two people may remain together, but internally one has released possession and fear. Their relationship becomes freer. Two people may separate, yet remain mentally chained through anger, obsession, regret, and the desire for revenge. Their bodies are apart, but karma continues. Physical distance is not always release. Physical closeness is not always bondage. The deeper question is whether the mind remains controlled by craving, hatred, fear, or ignorance. A person may leave your life, yet occupy every thought. You may replay conversations, imagine different endings, monitor their existence, compare everyone else to them, and silently wait for their return. The relationship has ended outwardly, but inwardly it continues. This is why liberation requires inner completion. You must eventually stop using the past as a place to live. You can honor what happened without building your identity around it. You can remember someone without worshipping the memory. You can grieve without making grief your permanent home. You can forgive without pretending that the pain never happened. You can release the desire for a different past. This is one of the greatest forms of surrender. The mind keeps asking, why did it happen this way? Why did they leave? Why did they not understand me? Why did life bring us together if we could not remain together? The soul may not receive every answer in the form the mind demands. Sometimes the lesson is to continue without complete explanation. Not every mystery is solved through information. Some are resolved through acceptance. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means you stop fighting reality after reality has already arrived. You recognize that the event became part of your journey, whether or not it matched your desire. You choose to extract wisdom instead of endlessly reopening the wound. This is how a relationship begins, releasing its hold. The person may have awakened a deep part of you. Now you must decide what you will do with that awakening. Will you turn it into bitterness? Will you close your heart? Will you punish future people for what one person did? Will you decide never to trust again? Or will you become more discerning without becoming emotionally dead? Liberation does not mean becoming incapable of attachment by becoming incapable of love. It means loving with awareness. A wounded person may say, "I will never love again," and call it detachment. But this may only be fear wearing spiritual clothing. True non-attachment does not require closing the heart. It allows the heart to remain open without losing wisdom. You can love again without demanding guarantees. You can trust while observing reality. You can offer kindness without abandoning boundaries. You can enter relationships knowing that change is possible. This is courage. The soul becomes free not because it avoids every bond, but because it no longer loses its deepest center inside one. Certain souls may return to teach this balance. One soul may help you open your heart after years of fear. Another may teach you not to give that open heart without discernment. One may show you the beauty of surrender. Another may show you the danger of surrendering your judgment. One may teach you that connection is sacred. Another may remind you that solitude is also sacred. Through different meetings, the soul becomes whole. It stops clinging to one extreme. It neither depends entirely on others, nor rejects all intimacy. It neither worships attachment, nor fears connection. It learns to meet another soul from inner completeness. This is one of the highest possibilities of recurring relationships. Two souls no longer come together as empty vessels demanding to be filled. They come together as conscious beings capable of sharing without consuming one another. They do not ask, "What can you give me so I can finally feel worthy?" They ask, "What truth can we embody through this meeting?" They do not say, "Become smaller so I feel secure." They say, "May your growth never threaten my love." They do not say, "Prove your devotion by giving up your path." They say, "Let us help each other walk our paths with greater courage." Such a bond does not weaken individuality, it purifies it. Both souls understand that unity does not require sameness. They may have different duties, temperaments, gifts, and spiritual rhythms. One may be quiet, the other expressive. One may seek contemplation, the other serves through action. One may be strong where the other is tender. Difference does not become a battlefield. It becomes part of the learning. They stop trying to remake each other into reflections of their own preferences. They begin honoring the unique dharma each soul carries. This is especially important because recurring souls may not always return with the same level of consciousness. One may awaken earlier. The other may remain attached to older patterns. One may feel the spiritual purpose of the connection. The other may see only emotional satisfaction. One may want truth. The other may still want control. This difference can create great pain. The awakened person may believe that because the connection feels ancient, they are responsible for pulling the other soul forward. They may become a rescuer. They keep explaining, forgiving, waiting, sacrificing, and hoping. They believe that if they love enough, the other person will awaken. But liberation cannot be forced. Every soul must choose awareness. You can offer light. You cannot make another person open their eyes. You can speak truth. You cannot make them value it. You can create a doorway. You cannot drag them through it. Sometimes the final lesson between recurring souls is accepting that their levels of willingness are different. This acceptance can be heartbreaking. You may see the potential of the bond. You may feel what it could become if both people released pride, fear, and unconsciousness. But potential is not reality. A spiritual connection cannot survive only through one person's vision. Both souls must participate. The higher path may require releasing the fantasy of who the other person could become. You begin relating to who they are now. You observe their choices rather than their promises. You stop interpreting occasional tenderness as complete transformation. You allow time to reveal character. This is not cynicism, it is discernment. Love without discernment can become another chain. Discernment without love can become harshness. The soul must develop both. This balance is part of liberation. You see clearly, but your clarity does not require hatred. You recognize that someone is not ready, but you do not need to condemn their soul. You understand that harmful behavior arises from ignorance, fear, or unresolved pain, yet you do not make yourself available for continued harm. You can say, I recognize your deeper nature, but I cannot participate in the way you are currently choosing to live. This is mature compassion. It respects both souls. You do not reduce the other person to their worst behavior. You also do not sacrifice yourself to prove that you can see beyond it. Certain souls may separate at this stage. The separation may be part of their liberation. One soul must learn to stop rescuing. The other must learn to face itself without being continually protected from consequences. Their paths divide because continuing together would preserve the old karma. Distance becomes the teacher. Silence becomes the teacher. The absence of the familiar dynamic forces both souls to encounter what they avoided. The rescuer discovers the emptiness they were trying to escape by constantly saving another person. The dependent soul discovers the strength it refused to develop. The controller encounters the loneliness created by domination. The one who always chased learns that love cannot be obtained through pursuit. Separation does not guarantee awakening, but it creates the space in which awakening becomes possible. Some souls use that space. Others immediately search for a new person with whom to repeat the same pattern. This is why the completion of karma cannot be judged only by whether a relationship ends. A pattern can continue with another face. True completion occurs when consciousness changes. You stop selecting the same emotional structure. You become uninterested in what once felt irresistible. Chaos no longer feels romantic. Inconsistency no longer feels mysterious. Control no longer feels like protection. Possessiveness no longer feels like proof of love. Emotional distance no longer increases attraction. You begin desiring what supports peace, honesty, reciprocity, and growth. At first, healthy connection may feel unfamiliar. The nervous system that learned to associate love with uncertainty may mistake peace for boredom. The person who grew up earning affection may distrust someone who offers it freely. The soul may have repeated intense karmic bonds for so long that stability feels empty. This is another stage of transformation. You must learn not only how to leave suffering, but how to receive peace. Some people escape toxic patterns, but remain emotionally attached to intensity. They reject harmful relationships outwardly, yet inwardly they still believe love must hurt to be deep. Then a gentle soul enters. This person is consistent. They do not play games. They speak clearly. They respect boundaries. They do not create constant fear. The old wound may not recognize this as love. It may search for danger. It may create conflict because conflict feels familiar. It may withdraw because safety creates vulnerability. At this moment, the soul encounters a new lesson. Can it remain present in peace? Can it receive love without suspicion? Can it stop testing the person who is not trying to leave? Can it allow stability to feel sacred? A recurring soul does not always return as the source of pain. Sometimes a soul returns as the answer after the painful pattern has been understood. Perhaps two souls met before, but one was not ready to receive the other's love. They meet again when greater maturity has developed. The familiarity is still present, but the relationship feels different. There is less urgency, less fear, less need to possess. The souls do not feel compelled to rush. They recognize that what is true does not need to be forced. This may be a sign that the bond has evolved. The same souls are meeting at a different level of consciousness. In a previous life, they may have loved through dependence. Now they love through partnership. Before, they may have chosen each other against truth. Now they choose truth even when it is difficult. Before, they may have been destroyed by separation. Now they understand that physical distance cannot erase genuine goodwill. Before, they may have demanded that the relationship provide an identity. Now they bring identity, purpose, and inner stability into the relationship. The bond has become lighter because karma has become wisdom. This is what it means for souls to help each other move toward liberation. They do not merely make each other happy, they make each other more conscious. Happiness may come and go. Awareness remains. They do not protect each other from every difficulty. They help each other meet difficulty with courage. They do not agree with every action. They love enough to speak truth. They do not remain silent to preserve temporary harmony. They understand that false peace creates deeper conflict. Such souls may challenge each other, but the challenge is not designed to humiliate. It is designed to awaken. One notices when pride is taking control. The other notices when fear is creating avoidance. They become witnesses for each other's growth. They remember the person beneath the temporary reaction. When one loses direction, the other does not encourage the illusion simply to remain liked. They gently call the soul back toward truth. This requires humility. No one wants to hear that the ego is active. No one enjoys having unconscious patterns revealed. But when trust and love are present, honest reflection becomes a gift. The relationship becomes a sacred mirror that does not merely expose wounds. It also reflects potential. One soul says, "I can see the courage within you even when you are afraid." Another says, "I can see the compassion beneath your anger." One reminds the other, "You are more than this mistake." The other responds, "And you are responsible for transforming it." They neither condemn nor excuse. They support accountability with love. This balance helps both souls rise, but even the most conscious relationship cannot remove impermanence. Eventually, every physical union changes. One person may die first. Circumstances may separate them. The duties of life may lead them in different directions. The body itself cannot remain. This truth is not meant to create despair. It makes love sacred. When you remember impermanence, you stop postponing gratitude. You stop assuming there will always be another conversation. You stop using silence as punishment. You stop wasting years protecting pride. You begin understanding the value of presence. You speak what matters. You apologize while there is time. You forgive when forgiveness is possible. You listen more carefully. You become less interested in winning small conflicts and more interested in protecting the truth of the bond. Impermanence does not weaken love. It removes carelessness. A person who believes they own tomorrow will waste today. A person who remembers that every meeting is temporary becomes more awake within it. This awareness is part of liberation. You love fully while knowing that form will change. You hold someone without believing you can stop time. You honor the relationship without making it immortal in the physical sense. You understand that death does not make love meaningless. It reveals whether love was rooted only in form. When a beloved person dies, the mind experiences an unbearable absence. You reach for the voice that will not answer. The room feels different. Ordinary objects become filled with memory. The world continues, yet something within you cannot understand how life can move forward. In this grief, the soul confronts one of its deepest lessons. Can love remain when possession is impossible? Can gratitude exist beside sorrow? Can the relationship continue as wisdom rather than physical presence? Can the person's influence become a source of awakening rather than a chain of endless despair? This transformation does not happen quickly. Grief has its own sacred rhythm. Spiritual understanding should never be used to rush the heart, but gradually the bond can change form. You stop searching only for the person outside yourself. You begin recognizing what they awakened within you. Their courage continues through your decisions. Their kindness continues through the way you treat others. Their teachings continue through the truth you now carry. Their love becomes part of your consciousness. This is one way souls help one another beyond physical separation. The relationship becomes internalized as virtue. The person who loved you teaches you how to love. The Mandu, the person who believed in you, teaches you how to believe in others. The one who died reminds you to live. The one you could not save teaches humility. The one who forgave you teaches mercy. The one you lost becomes part of the path by which you seek what cannot be lost. Sometimes death awakens spiritual longing more powerfully than any teaching. Before the loss, you may have treated the invisible world as an idea. Afterward, the question becomes personal. Where did this soul go? What remains after the body? Can consciousness continue? Will souls meet again? The grief pushes you beyond superficial living. You begin seeking wisdom. The departed soul becomes a silent guide. Perhaps this was part of the deeper purpose of your meeting. Not that they died for your awakening, but that your love for them opened a door that ordinary life had kept closed. This is a difficult form of grace. You would never have chosen the pain, yet the pain transforms the direction of your life. Years later, you may realize that the relationship continued influencing you long after physical separation. The soul kept guiding you through the impression it left. This may be another reason certain souls find one another in different lifetimes. Their journeys become spiritually intertwined. One awakens the other in one life. The second may return the gift in another. One becomes a teacher. Later, the roles reverse. One offers protection during a difficult incarnation. Another offers wisdom when the first becomes lost. The exchange continues, not as a perfect arrangement planned by the human mind, but as a movement of karma, love, and spiritual development. Yet there must eventually come a point when both souls no longer need repeated meetings to complete unfinished lessons. They have learned what the bond came to teach. The love is no longer mixed with possession. The debt is no longer active. The wound no longer controls them. The promise has been honored. The pattern has ended. What happens then? From the highest spiritual perspective, the souls do not become enemies or strangers. The connection becomes free. There is no compulsion pulling them together. No fear demanding reunion. No unfinished suffering requiring another stage. They may meet again, but the meeting is no longer driven by bondage. It becomes a meeting of freedom. Imagine two souls who once clung to each other through fear. Across many experiences, they learn trust, responsibility, non-attachment, and truth. Eventually, they encounter one another without desperation. There is recognition, but no demand. There is love, but no ownership. There is closeness, but no loss of self. There may even be separation, but no hatred. This is one of the most beautiful possibilities of a recurring bond. The relationship has fulfilled its karmic purpose. It no longer creates another chain. It becomes a blessing. The souls can walk together without imprisoning each other, or they can walk apart without feeling incomplete. This is freedom within love. Human beings often believe freedom and devotion are opposites. They think that if you truly love someone, you must be unable to live without them. But inability is not the highest proof of love. Sometimes it is proof of dependence. The highest devotion does not reduce another person's freedom. It protects it. It says, I choose you, but I do not own you. I honor our connection, but I will not turn it into an idol. I will walk beside you, but I will not prevent you from walking your path. I will grieve if we separate, but I will not destroy myself or you to prevent change. I will love you deeply while remembering that both of us belong to something greater than this relationship. Such love does not become weaker because it is free. It becomes more sacred. It no longer treats the beloved as a possession. It treats the meeting as grace. This is the point at which the relationship begins reflecting divine love more clearly. Divine love does not force, it invites. It does not manipulate, it reveals. It does not demand that you remain unconscious. It calls you toward your highest nature. When two souls love in this way, they become instruments of something greater than personal desire. Their bond may create service in the world. They may raise conscious children. They may care for the suffering. They may build a community. They may preserve wisdom. They may support one another through duties that benefit many people. Their love expands beyond the two of them. This expansion is a sign of spiritual maturity. Attachment often makes the world smaller. Two people become consumed with each other. Everything outside the relationship loses value. They withdraw from purpose, community, responsibility, and spiritual growth. The bond becomes a closed circle. Conscious love opens outward. Because the relationship provides inner stability, both souls become more capable of service. They do not use love to escape the world. They use love as strength to meet it. One person's presence helps the other fulfill their dharma. Their connection becomes fruitful. It produces wisdom, compassion, courage, beauty, or service. This is how a relationship contributes to liberation, rather than becoming another distraction. The souls do not ask only, "How can we remain together?" They also ask, "What is our meeting meant to give?" Perhaps their shared purpose is not visible to the world. It may be expressed through the way they heal a family line. Perhaps generations before them lived through violence, silence, control, or emotional abandonment. These two souls meet and decide to create something different. They learn to communicate. They refuse to pass cruelty to their children. They stop glorifying sacrifice that destroys the individual. They replace fear with respect. Their relationship becomes the place where an inherited karmic pattern ends. This is a profound form of service. Liberation is not always a dramatic, mystical event. It can begin in the quiet decision not to repeat unconsciousness. A father learns to speak gently because he refuses to continue the anger he inherited. A mother allows her child freedom because she chooses not to pass forward the control she endured. Two partners learn to apologize because previous generations treated pride as strength. A family begins discussing pain instead of hiding it. Through these acts, souls help one another move toward freedom. The relationship becomes the place where old karma is purified. Certain souls may have found each other precisely because both carry different parts of the same ancestral wound. Their meeting creates friction at first. One fears abandonment. The other fears intimacy. One was taught to remain silent. The other was taught to dominate. They can repeat the inherited story, or they can become conscious enough to end it. If they choose awareness, their bond affects people who have not yet been born. Future generations inherit less fear. This is how one relationship can become spiritually significant beyond the two individuals involved. But not every recurring soul arrives as a loving companion. Some arrive as opponents. This may be difficult to accept, yet conflict can also contribute to liberation. A rival may awaken your discipline. An enemy may expose your anger. A person who misunderstands you may teach you to stop depending on universal approval. Someone who opposes your path may force you to clarify what you truly believe. The soul may grow through resistance. This does not make harmful actions holy. It means consciousness can transform even opposition into learning. Certain souls may repeatedly encounter each other through conflict because neither has learned how to respond without hatred. In one life, one injures the other. The victim seeks revenge. The roles reverse. The cycle continues. Each believes justice requires another wound. This is how karma becomes a chain. Someone must eventually refuse to continue. Forgiveness can become the act that breaks the cycle. But forgiveness must be understood correctly. It does not mean denying injustice. It does not mean refusing protection. It does not mean allowing repeated harm. It means you release the desire to become what wounded you. You may pursue justice without hatred. You may defend yourself without becoming cruel. You may remember the lesson without feeding revenge. This response transforms the relationship at the deepest level. The other soul may remain unconscious, but you do not continue the chain from your side. This is liberation from the enemy within, the anger that would otherwise make the external enemy part of your identity. Some people remain connected to those who harmed them through hatred more powerfully than they were ever connected through love. Every thought returns to the injury. Every achievement is secretly intended to prove something. Every new relationship is shaped by the old wound. The harmful person is absent, yet still controls the inner world. Forgiveness removes this control. It does not free the other person from responsibility. It frees your consciousness from endless occupation. This is why even painful soul encounters can contribute to liberation. They reveal whether another person's ignorance will determine the quality of your heart. The highest response is not weakness, it is mastery. You do not allow cruelty to reproduce itself through you. You become the place where the pattern stops. This may take years. Liberation is rarely a single emotional decision. You may forgive mentally, then feel anger return. You may understand the lesson, then encounter another layer of pain. Healing moves in circles. Each return gives you another opportunity to release more deeply. Do not judge yourself because the heart does not become free immediately. Awareness grows through patience. The important change is that you no longer worship the wound. You no longer use it to justify harming others. You keep turning pain into consciousness. This process itself is spiritual practice. Certain souls may meet again because one has not yet learned to forgive, while the other has not yet learned responsibility. One must release hatred, the other must face truth. Neither lesson cancels the other. Forgiveness without accountability can preserve harm. Accountability without forgiveness can become endless condemnation. Liberation requires both truth and release. When these two qualities meet, karma becomes complete. But sometimes accountability never comes. The person who caused pain dies, disappears, or refuses to acknowledge what happened. The wounded soul is left without an apology. This becomes one of the hardest spiritual tests. Can you become free without receiving the answer you deserved? Can you stop waiting for someone else's consciousness to unlock your peace? You may believe that healing depends on them finally understanding, but their awakening is not under your control. Your liberation cannot remain permanently dependent on their willingness. You can name the truth yourself. You can honor what happened. You can seek support. You can protect your future. You can release the demand that the past be rewritten by someone who refuses responsibility. This is not the justice the ego wanted. It is the freedom the soul needs. Perhaps in another lifetime, the souls will meet under conditions where responsibility becomes possible. Perhaps they will not. Your task is to become as conscious as possible now. The present response is the only doorway currently open. This is why Vedic teachings repeatedly turn attention toward action, intention, awareness, and non-attachment. Speculation about another lifetime cannot replace responsibility in this one. You may believe that a soul connection will continue forever, but the highest question is what you are creating through it today. Are your actions generating more attachment, more fear, more dishonesty, more resentment? Or are they generating compassion, truth, courage, and freedom? Every conversation becomes karma. Every choice contributes to the future direction of the bond. When two souls understand this, they stop treating the relationship carelessly. They recognize that love is not only an emotion, it is an ethical responsibility. How you treat another person leaves an impression. Words spoken in anger may remain long after the moment passes. Repeated disrespect can turn a sacred connection into a source of suffering. Unexpressed gratitude can become regret. Loyalty can become healing. Truth can prevent years of confusion. A single apology can interrupt an inherited pattern. The souls begin living with greater attention. They do not assume love will survive every form of neglect. They protect the bond through conscious action. This does not mean they become perfect. Mistakes continue. ego appears, fear returns. But there is a shared commitment to awareness. They repair rather than only repeat. They listen rather than merely defend. They take responsibility before the wound becomes another permanent impression. This is how conscious relationships create less karma. They do not avoid all conflict. They transform conflict before it becomes another chain. Imagine two people arguing. The old pattern demands victory. Each wants to prove the other wrong. Words become weapons. Past mistakes are brought forward. Silence becomes punishment. The purpose of the conversation is forgotten. In a conscious relationship, at least one soul notices the pattern. It pauses. It asks, "Do I want truth, or do I only want to win?" That pause can change everything. The soul chooses not to speak the cruel sentence. It refuses to use a known wound as a weapon. It communicates the pain without attacking the person's entire identity. The other may respond with similar awareness. The conflict becomes a place of growth. This may seem ordinary, but spiritually it is profound. A pattern that may have repeated across many experiences is interrupted in a single moment of consciousness. Liberation is built through such moments. It is not only found in temples, forests, meditation halls, or sacred texts. It can arise in a kitchen during an argument. It can arise when a parent chooses patience. It can arise when a person refuses revenge. It can arise when someone speaks the truth after years of silence. It can arise when a relationship ends without cruelty. The sacred is present wherever unconsciousness is transformed. This is why certain souls keep meeting in ordinary circumstances. They may not recognize the spiritual significance of the bond. They may think they are simply family members, friends, partners, co-workers, or strangers, yet every interaction becomes part of their evolution. A difficult parent may force a soul to develop boundaries. A gentle child may soften a hardened heart. A devoted friend may teach loyalty. A stranger may offer kindness during a moment of despair and prevent an irreversible decision. The souls may never meet again in the same life, yet the effect of the encounter continues. A connection does not need a long history to carry spiritual purpose. Sometimes one soul arrives at the exact moment another is about to give up. A sentence is spoken. A hand is offered. A door is opened. The person continues living. Years later, they may help countless others. The original meeting becomes part of a chain of liberation much larger than either person could see. This is how souls serve one another without always knowing it. Not every sacred connection comes with supernatural recognition. Sometimes the soul does not feel immediate familiarity. The meaning is revealed only later. You look back and realize that without that meeting, your path would have been completely different. The teacher you once disliked gave you discipline. The friend you lost taught you gratitude. The failure caused by another person forced you toward a purpose you would never have chosen. The stranger who believed in you created confidence at the exact moment it was needed. Karma can work quietly. The soul may recognize the purpose only after the experience has matured into wisdom. This is why it is dangerous to judge every connection too quickly. A person who brings pleasure may not be beneficial. A person who brings discomfort may reveal truth. A relationship that appears to fail may protect you from a deeper form of unconsciousness. A separation may redirect both souls toward paths where they can serve more fully. The mind sees the immediate event. The soul's journey may contain a much larger pattern. This does not mean every painful event should be passively accepted as destiny. Conscious action remains necessary. But humility is also necessary. You may not immediately understand why a meeting occurred. You can still choose the highest response available. Perhaps meaning will become clear later. Perhaps it will remain mysterious. Liberation includes the ability to live without controlling every explanation. The ego wants certainty. It wants to know who someone was in another life, why they returned, what will happen next, and whether the connection will continue. The soul learns to remain present within uncertainty. It acts with truth without demanding complete knowledge. This is spiritual maturity. You do not need to know the entire karmic history to choose compassion. You do not need proof of a past life bond to act with integrity. You do not need certainty about reunion to appreciate someone now. You do not need to know whether they will return in another lifetime before you forgive, speak truth, or express gratitude. The present moment contains enough responsibility. Certain souls keep finding each other until they learn to stop postponing what love requires. They postpone apologies. They postpone honesty. They postpone courage. They assume there will be more time. Then death, distance, or circumstance closes the door. Regret becomes the unfinished energy carried forward. In another meeting, the soul may feel urgency without understanding why. Perhaps it remembers the cost of silence. This time, it is given another chance. Will it speak? Will it honor the bond? Will it choose truth before fear creates another ending? This is why some people feel an immediate need to say something important. The conscious mind cannot explain it. The soul may be carrying an old regret, yet even here discernment is needed. Not every intense impulse is spiritual guidance. Fear, fantasy, loneliness, and projection can imitate intuition. The soul must develop stillness. In stillness, you can distinguish between desperate attachment and quiet inner knowing. Desperate attachment is loud. It demands immediate action. It says you will lose everything if you do not force the outcome. Quiet knowing does not remove uncertainty, but it carries clarity. It may tell you to speak. It may tell you to wait. It may tell you to leave. It may tell you to forgive. It does not usually demand that you abandon dignity. Certain returning souls become part of this training. Their presence makes your inner world so active that you are forced to learn the difference between intuition and desire. You begin observing thought. You begin practicing patience. You stop treating every emotion as a command. This is another step toward liberation. The uncontrolled mind turns relationships into suffering. A look becomes a story. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A change in tone becomes evidence of abandonment. The mind builds entire worlds from fragments. It reacts to imagined meaning rather than present reality. A soul connection may expose this pattern. Because the emotions are powerful, the mind becomes impossible to ignore. You see how quickly attachment creates fear. You discover how much suffering is generated not only by events, but by interpretation. This insight can become a doorway into meditation and self-observation. The relationship teaches you about the nature of mind. You begin asking, is this pain coming from what happened, or from the story I am repeating? Am I responding to this person, or to an old wound they activated? Do I know the truth, or am I imagining it? Can I allow uncertainty without creating disaster inside myself? These questions weaken the mind's automatic control. The soul becomes a witness. This witnessing is central to freedom. You experience emotion without becoming entirely identified with it. You feel fear, but know you are more than fear. You feel longing, but no, longing does not have to command your action. You feel grief, but recognize that consciousness remains present through grief. The relationship becomes a spiritual laboratory. It shows you how attachment forms. It shows you how the ego seeks control. It shows you how identity becomes dependent on another person's response. And through awareness, you begin stepping back. This does not make you indifferent. It makes love more conscious. You can care without drowning. You can remain present without losing perspective. You can feel deeply without allowing emotion to destroy wisdom. This balance may be one of the most important gifts a recurring soul gives you. Before meeting them, you may have believed spirituality meant avoiding emotional intensity. Afterward, you discover that true practice is remaining awake within it. Anyone can feel peaceful when nothing important is being challenged. The deeper test comes when love, loss, fear, and uncertainty are active. Can you remember your deepest nature then? Can you avoid cruelty when hurt? Can you maintain dignity when rejected? Can you keep compassion without returning to bondage? Can you release control while still acting responsibly? The returning soul brings the examination. Your response reveals the depth of your realization. This is why spiritual growth cannot be measured only by words, rituals, or knowledge. A person may speak about karma and liberation, yet become completely unconscious when attachment is threatened. Another may know very little philosophy, but respond to loss with extraordinary compassion and dignity. Consciousness is revealed through life. Relationships reveal it quickly. Certain souls continue meeting because each encounter shows what remains unfinished within both. They may believe they have evolved. Then the familiar bond reappears. Old emotions rise. The soul discovers whether the lesson has truly been integrated. Perhaps years of solitude created peace. But was the peace based on genuine realization or only the absence of triggers? The returning person reveals the answer. If the old fear immediately controls everything, more healing remains. This is not failure. It is information. The connection shows where practice must deepen. You may now notice the pattern faster. You may recover more quickly. You may set a boundary that once seemed impossible. You may speak truth without anger. Progress is not always the complete absence of emotion. Sometimes it is the ability to remain conscious while emotion moves through you. This is how repeated meetings become stages of evolution. In the first encounter, you are completely controlled by attachment. In the next, you begin recognizing the pattern after great suffering. Later, you see it while it is happening. Eventually, you recognize it before acting. Finally, the same trigger appears, but consciousness no longer follows the old path. The karmic lesson is complete. The person may remain or leave. The deeper victory has occurred within you. This is why certain souls may return after long periods of absence. Their return becomes a test of transformation. You see them again. The same face, voice, or energy awakens memory. But something is different. You are not the same person. Perhaps you once needed their approval. Now you can appreciate them without needing to be chosen. Perhaps you once carried anger. Now you see them with compassion but clear boundaries. Perhaps you once wished for reunion. Now you understand that peace does not require it. Perhaps both of you have changed and a new relationship becomes possible. Or perhaps the meeting confirms that the old story has ended. Both outcomes can be sacred. The return is not always meant to restart the connection. Sometimes it is meant to reveal that you are free. You can stand before what once controlled you and remain centered. The heart may feel tenderness, but not compulsion. Memory may arise, but not imprisonment. You can wish them well without sacrificing your path. This quiet freedom may be one of the clearest signs that the karmic bond has fulfilled its purpose. The storm has become understanding. The question has become an answer. The attachment has become gratitude. The soul no longer asks, "How can I get them back?" It asks, "What wisdom remains from our meeting?" This shift changes everything. You stop measuring the relationship only by its ending. You see the entire journey. You remember who you were before it. You recognize who you became through it. You understand that even the pain contributed to a deeper awakening. Again, this does not excuse harm. It means harm did not prevent transformation. The other person does not receive credit for all your growth. You chose to turn experience into wisdom. That choice belongs to you. This is part of reclaiming spiritual power. You no longer believe someone else created or destroyed your soul. They influenced your journey. They may have wounded your heart, but your deepest nature remained capable of awakening. The soul is greater than the relationship. This realization is essential for liberation. As long as you believe another person contains your missing half, you will fear losing them more than losing truth. You will accept what violates your dignity. You will call dependence destiny. You will build your life around avoiding separation. But when you remember that your deepest self is whole, love changes. You can choose someone without making them responsible for your existence. You can remain loyal without becoming enslaved. You can grieve without believing your soul has been destroyed. You can walk alone without calling yourself incomplete. Then relationships become offerings rather than necessities. You meet another soul from fullness. This does not mean you never feel loneliness. Human life contains longing for connection, but loneliness no longer becomes a command to accept any relationship. You can sit with emptiness. You can listen to what it reveals. Perhaps it is asking you to reconnect with purpose, community, creativity, prayer, nature, service, or your own inner life. You stop demanding that one person carry every need. This reduces the pressure placed on relationships. A single soul is no longer asked to become lover, healer, parent, savior, teacher, purpose, identity, and proof of worth. The bond can breathe. Both people become freer. This freedom allows love to deepen. You begin seeing the other person not as a solution to your incompleteness, but as a mysterious being with their own journey through karma, pain, desire, and awakening. You become curious rather than controlling. You listen to understand. You honor their interior world. You allow them to be more than the role they play in your life. This is respect for the soul. Possessive love sees the beloved mainly in relation to itself. It asks, "What are you to me?" Conscious love also asks, "Who are you becoming?" This question transforms companionship. You become interested in the other person's liberation, not merely their usefulness to your comfort. You may even support a choice that brings them growth, but changes the relationship. This is extremely difficult. The ego wants love to guarantee proximity. The soul recognizes that sometimes love must allow distance. A parent must release a child. A teacher must release a student. A friend must allow another friend to follow a different path. A partner may need to accept that a relationship cannot continue without harming both. Letting go can become an expression of love when holding on serves only fear. But letting go should not be romanticized either. Sometimes people abandon responsibility and call it freedom. They avoid commitment and call it non-attachment. They refuse difficult conversations and claim the soul must follow its path. This is not liberation. It may be avoidance. True non-attachment does not remove duty. It purifies duty from possession. You fulfill responsibilities because they are right, not because you want control. You remain present through difficulty when the relationship is capable of truth and repair. You do not use spirituality to escape the ordinary work of love. Recurring souls may return precisely because they once avoided responsibility. In this life, liberation may require staying. A person who repeatedly fled intimacy may need to learn commitment. Someone who always chose personal freedom at the expense of others may need to learn sacrifice. Someone who called emotional distance spiritual independence may need to open the heart. The higher path cannot be determined by a simple rule. For one soul, freedom means leaving. For another, freedom means finally staying. For one, the lesson is surrender. For another, the lesson is boundaries. For one, the lesson is trust. For another, discernment. This is why self-honesty matters more than repeating spiritual phrases. You must ask what fear is controlling your action. Are you leaving because truth requires it, or because closeness frightens you? Are you staying because love is healthy, or because loneliness terrifies you? Are you forgiving from freedom, or because conflict makes you uncomfortable? Are you setting a boundary from clarity, or to punish the other person? The soul's motive shapes the karma. Outer behavior alone cannot reveal everything. Two people may perform the same action for opposite reasons. One leaves from cowardice, another leaves from courage. One stays from love, another stays from fear. Liberation requires awareness of the inner cause. Certain souls keep meeting because their presence exposes these hidden motives. You cannot easily hide from yourself inside a powerful connection. The relationship makes your patterns visible. You see whether you seek control. You see whether you avoid vulnerability. You see whether you need to be needed. You see whether you use giving to earn love. You see whether you confuse independence with emotional isolation. The other soul becomes the fire in which motives are revealed. When both people accept this process, the relationship becomes transformative. They stop asking only, "Who is wrong?" They begin asking, "What is this conflict showing us?" They do not deny wrongdoing. They still name specific behavior, but they also look beneath the surface. Perhaps the argument about time reveals a deeper fear of being unimportant. Perhaps the conflict about freedom reveals an old experience of control. Perhaps the struggle over communication reveals shame around vulnerability. The visible issue becomes a doorway into deeper healing. This is how two souls assist each other's liberation. They create enough safety for truth to emerge. One person can say, "When you withdraw, an old wound awakens within me." The other can respond, "I understand the wound, but I also need space. Let us find a way that respects both." This is different from blame. It does not make one person responsible for healing everything. Both take responsibility for their part. The relationship becomes a place where awareness replaces reaction. Such communication may appear simple, yet it can end patterns carried for generations. A child raised in that environment learns that conflict does not require violence or silence. They witness accountability. They learn that emotions can be expressed without control. The liberation expands. This is why a conscious bond can affect many souls. Two people do not transform only for themselves. Their choices influence families, communities, and future generations. A healed relationship becomes a living teaching. Others may not know the spiritual work behind it. They only feel the peace it creates. This peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of awareness within difficulty. Certain souls may have met many times to reach this stage. In earlier lives, they may have been consumed by jealousy. Later, they learned loyalty. Then perhaps loyalty became dependence. They returned to learn individuality. Individuality became distance. They returned again to learn intimacy without control. The evolution continues through refinement. Each lifetime corrects one imbalance and reveals another. This is how consciousness grows. The goal is not perfect behavior. It is increasing freedom from ignorance. The souls gradually stop using each other to avoid themselves. They stop making the relationship a distraction from inner emptiness. They support meditation, reflection, service, discipline, and truth. They allow periods of solitude. They understand that constant togetherness is not the same as spiritual closeness. Sometimes a person must sit alone to hear their own soul. A conscious companion does not fear this solitude. They do not interpret every inward movement as rejection. They trust that genuine love can include space. This is a sign that attachment is weakening. The bond no longer needs constant reassurance to survive. Both people develop a center within themselves. Then when they meet, they share presence rather than desperation. This kind of love can become a bridge toward devotion. The qualities experienced in the relationship, beauty, tenderness, forgiveness, wonder, begin directing consciousness toward their highest source. You realize that the love you feel is greater than the individual personality through which it appears. The person may awaken devotion, but devotion gradually expands beyond them. You begin seeing sacredness in many beings. Compassion becomes less selective. At first, you care deeply only for one person. Later, the opened heart becomes capable of caring for strangers, animals, nature, and the suffering of the world. The relationship has expanded consciousness. This is another sign that it is serving liberation. Possessive attachment concentrates love into one narrow point and rejects everything else. Spiritual love begins with one connection, but eventually opens the heart more widely. The beloved becomes a doorway, not a wall. Their presence teaches you how precious consciousness is. You begin respecting life more deeply. You become kinder because you understand that every person carries invisible pain and karmic history. You stop judging quickly. You recognize that each soul is moving through lessons you cannot see. This does not remove discernment. It deepens compassion. You can oppose harmful action while remembering the humanity of the person. You can protect boundaries without hatred. This expanded vision is part of liberation. Certain souls find one another because love between them has the power to open this vision. But if they become obsessed only with each other, the doorway closes. The bond becomes another form of ego. The challenge is to let personal love become universal wisdom. A person who has been truly loved should become more capable of loving the world. A person who has suffered deeply should become more sensitive to the suffering of others. A person who has experienced forgiveness should become less eager to condemn. The relationship bears fruit through character. Without this fruit, spiritual claims remain incomplete. You may say someone is your eternal soul companion, but if the bond makes you more selfish, dishonest, cruel, isolated, or unconscious, something is being misunderstood. A sacred connection should gradually increase truth. This does not mean it always feels peaceful. The process may be painful, but pain should move toward awareness, not endless repetition. There should be growth, greater responsibility, greater clarity, greater freedom. If years pass and the same harm continues without genuine change, the language of destiny may be protecting denial. Certain souls return to help one another awaken, but awakening cannot occur without willingness. When willingness is absent, distance may become necessary. This distance itself may serve liberation. The soul learns that love cannot be forced. The ego learns that another person's journey is not its property. You release the role of spiritual savior. You allow the universe, karma, consequences, and time to teach what your words could not. This release is profound. Many people remain attached not only to the person, but to the belief that they must be the one who changes them. They say, "No one understands them as I do. They need me. If I leave, they will be destroyed." This may contain genuine concern, but it can also hide ego. The rescuer feels important through being needed. Liberation requires surrendering this identity. You recognize that every soul has a relationship with life beyond you. You are one influence, not the entire universe. You can offer support without assuming divine responsibility. You can care without carrying what does not belong to you. This humility frees both people. The other soul must stand. You must stop deriving identity from holding them up. Perhaps this was the final lesson hidden within the recurring bond. Not how to remain together, but how to release roles that prevented both from growing. Once the roles dissolve, the relationship may change. The former rescuer and dependent may become equals. The controller and submissive person may learn mutual respect. The distant person may learn vulnerability. The anxious person may develop inner stability. Then the bond can continue in a new form. But if one clings to the old role, the relationship may end. Liberation does not guarantee the preservation of every structure. Sometimes truth destroys a relationship built on unconsciousness. This destruction can feel like failure. Yet what is being lost? Perhaps not love itself. Perhaps only the form through which fear maintained control. A bond based on one person remaining weak cannot survive their healing. A bond based on silence cannot survive truth. A bond based on constant rescue cannot survive responsibility. A bond based on dependency cannot survive inner wholeness. The ending may be painful, but it reveals what truly held the relationship together. If genuine love remains, it may adapt. If only unconscious need held it together, it may disappear. Both outcomes reveal truth. This is why spiritual growth can initially feel lonely. As old patterns fall away, Some relationships cannot continue. You may wonder whether awakening is costing you everyone, but often it is removing the versions of relationships that required your unconsciousness. This creates space for new forms of connection. Some souls from your past may return differently. New souls may enter who can meet you at the level you have reached. You begin forming bonds through shared truth rather than familiar wounds. The emotional intensity may be lower, but the peace is deeper. At first, the ego may miss the drama. It may interpret stability as lack of destiny, but gradually, the nervous system learns that love does not need constant fear. The soul learns to rest. This rest is part of liberation. You stop living in emotional survival. Energy that was spent managing chaos becomes available for purpose. You create, you serve, you study, you meditate, you care for your body, you deepen other relationships, your life expands. A healthy soul connection should not consume the entire world. It should help you engage with life more fully. This is one way to recognize whether a bond is moving toward liberation. Does it make both people more alive, responsible, and aware? Or does it reduce their existence to fear of losing each other? The answer reveals the direction of the karma. Certain souls may continue meeting until they learn that love is not supposed to replace life. It is meant to illuminate it. When love becomes a source of courage, both people move toward Dharma. When it becomes a hiding place, both may remain trapped. This is why purpose matters. Two souls who share a spiritual bond may be brought together to accomplish something beyond personal happiness. Perhaps they preserve teachings. Perhaps they create art that awakens others. Perhaps they build a home where compassion becomes visible. Perhaps they help people heal. Perhaps one quietly supports the other's service. The world may never know the importance of the partnership, but the souls know that together they became capable of giving something neither could give alone. This shared purpose can be one reason they repeatedly reunite. Across lifetimes, they may take different roles in the same larger work. One becomes the visible leader, the other provides hidden support. In another life, the roles reverse. The work continues. Yet even shared purpose must not become attachment. If one soul leaves, the other must continue. The mission cannot depend entirely on one body. This is another lesson in non-attachment. The person may have helped awaken the purpose. Their absence does not cancel it. You honor the bond by continuing the work. Grief becomes service. Love becomes action. Memory becomes contribution. This is how separation can still serve liberation. The relationship is no longer measured only by what you received. It is measured by what you became capable of giving. Perhaps this is one of the highest meanings of meeting a soul repeatedly. Their presence gradually turns your attention from personal desire toward service. At first you ask, why have they come to me? Later you ask, what can our meeting contribute? At first, you want the relationship to make you happy. Later, you want it to make both of you truthful. Finally, you want the love between you to benefit life itself. The circle expands. The ego becomes smaller. This expansion is liberation in motion. But the final liberation requires releasing even attachment to spiritual identity. You may begin believing that you and another person are specially chosen souls, eternally connected, more spiritually significant than others. The ego can enter through sacred language. It creates a new superiority. It says, our connection is beyond ordinary people. This can become another chain. True spiritual connection increases humility. It does not make you look down upon others. It reminds you that every soul carries sacred potential. Your bond may be unique, but uniqueness does not mean superiority. The purpose is not to feel spiritually special. It is to become more loving, truthful, and free. If the idea of an eternal bond feeds pride, attachment has simply changed clothing. Liberation requires releasing the need to possess a special spiritual identity. You do not need the label of soulmate, twin flame, karmic partner, or eternal companion in order to honor a meaningful connection. Labels can help the mind, but they can also create fantasy. You may force reality to fit the label. You may remain in pain because the title feels sacred. You may ignore clear behavior because you believe the connection has a cosmic guarantee. The soul does not need a label to recognize truth. Observe what the relationship produces. That is more important than what it is called. Does it lead toward freedom? Does it deepen awareness? Does it inspire responsibility? Does it help both people remember their spiritual nature? If so, honor it. If it creates endless fear and self-destruction, question the interpretation. A connection can be karmic and still require release. It can feel ancient and still be complete. It can be spiritually significant without becoming permanent. These truths protect the seeker from romanticizing bondage. The highest Vedic perspective does not encourage obsession with who belongs to you across lifetimes. It points toward freedom from the very idea of possession. The soul belongs to no human being. It is a traveler through existence. You may walk beside another traveler for a time. Your journeys may cross repeatedly. You may help each other survive, heal, learn, and awaken. But neither traveler becomes the property of the other. This is why the deepest recognition between souls is not, "You are mine." It is, "I see the sacred journey within you." This seeing changes the relationship. You stop reducing the person to the role they perform. A parent recognizes that the child is not an extension of their ego. A partner recognizes that the beloved is not a possession. A teacher recognizes that the student must eventually walk independently. A friend recognizes that love can survive different paths. This respect allows the soul to breathe. Where there is space, genuine love can grow. Where there is possession, fear eventually grows. Liberation is the movement from possession toward reverence. You do not clutch the person, you honor their existence. You become grateful that, among countless paths, your lives crossed. Gratitude replaces entitlement. This is one of the most beautiful transformations within a recurring bond. At first, the soul asks, "Why are they not giving me more?" Later it asks, "How can I honor what has already been given?" Gratitude does not prevent you from asking for healthy treatment. It prevents love from becoming a permanent complaint. You recognize the gifts even when the relationship was imperfect. Perhaps the person taught you something they never intended to teach. Perhaps they awakened courage through opposition. Perhaps they revealed a wound. Perhaps they offered joy during a difficult period. Perhaps they gave you a glimpse of a love you will carry forever. You do not need to deny the pain to honor the gift. Both can be true. Mature consciousness can hold complexity. A person may have loved you and still harmed you. A relationship may have been sacred and still unsustainable. Someone may have changed your life and still not belong in your future. Liberation does not require reducing the story to entirely good or entirely bad. It sees clearly. This clarity softens obsession. The mind often remains attached because it wants a simple conclusion. Was the person meant for me or not? Was the relationship real or false? Were they a blessing or a lesson? But life may answer, they were real, they were meaningful. They carried both love and limitation. They were part of your journey. And now the form has changed. This answer is less dramatic, but more truthful. The soul can finally stop forcing the past into a single category. It becomes free to continue. Certain souls keep meeting until they learn this acceptance. They stop demanding that every sacred connection end in permanent physical union. They understand that some bonds fulfill their purpose through transformation rather than continuation. A teacher and student may separate after knowledge has been received. A parent and child must eventually change roles. A friend may walk beside you through one stage and disappear in another. A lover may awaken a part of you but be unable to continue the journey. The ending does not erase the sacredness. The changing form is part of life. Resistance creates suffering. Acceptance allows love to become wisdom. This wisdom prepares the soul for liberation beyond all forms. The ultimate Vedic aim is not to secure perfect relationships in every incarnation. It is to awaken from ignorance and the cycle of compulsive attachment. Relationships serve this awakening when they reveal the nature of desire, ego, karma, compassion, and impermanence. Every recurring soul becomes part of the education. Eventually, the seeker sees that all relationships point toward the same truth. What you seek in another, peace, love, security, completeness, has its highest source within the deepest self. Another person can reflect it. They cannot permanently manufacture it for you. When this realization becomes lived experience, the fear of loss begins to soften. You still love, you still care, you still grieve, but beneath changing emotions, there is a deeper center. You know that your being is not destroyed when a relationship changes. You know that love is larger than possession. You know that separation cannot erase the truth awakened through a meeting. This knowledge is not merely intellectual. It becomes inner stability. The soul begins resting in itself. Then relationships are no longer used to escape the self. They become expressions of it. You love because love flows naturally, not because you are terrified of emptiness. You give because giving is right, not because you are bargaining for affection. You remain because presence serves truth, not because fear prevents departure. You leave when necessary without turning departure into hatred. This is freedom in action. Certain souls may find each other one final time at this level. There is recognition, perhaps no dramatic explanation, no desperate need to define the bond. They simply feel peace. The connection does not create confusion. It does not demand possession. It does not awaken the same ancient wound. They may walk together in humility, or they may meet briefly and move on with gratitude. The old karma is no longer pulling them. Love remains, but compulsion has ended. This may be the completion of a very long journey. Imagine how many forms the bond may have taken. They may have been parent and child, teacher and student, lovers separated by circumstance, friends who sacrificed for one another, enemies who caused repeated suffering, strangers who changed each other's direction. Across each meeting, something was learned: patience, truth, forgiveness, responsibility, courage, non-attachment, compassion, finally freedom. The souls no longer need to return through suffering. The lesson has become consciousness. This is perhaps why certain meetings feel so profound. You are not encountering only the person standing before you. You may be encountering the accumulated weight of many unfinished lessons, gifts, wounds, and acts of love. Yet the purpose is not to remain fascinated by the past. The purpose is to become awake now. This moment may be the one in which the story changes. This lifetime may be the one in which love becomes pure. This relationship may be the place where the chain ends. Perhaps you have found the person again, not so you can continue suffering together, but so you can finally help one another become free. How does one soul help another become free? Not by controlling their path, not by carrying every burden, not by demanding permanent closeness. A soul helps another through truth, through presence, through example, through compassion, through boundaries, through forgiveness, through refusing to support unconsciousness, through reminding them of their dignity, through allowing them to face consequences, through loving them without making them an object, through releasing them when holding on would deepen bondage. Sometimes freedom is offered through a hand that stays, sometimes through a door that closes. Both can be sacred when guided by wisdom. The ego will judge according to desire. The soul asks what produces awakening. This is the final measure. If remaining together helps both souls become more truthful, compassionate, responsible, and free, the bond may continue as a path. If remaining together preserves fear, manipulation, and unconscious repetition, separation may become the path. Neither staying nor leaving is automatically more spiritual. Awareness determines the meaning. This is why no outside person can completely interpret another soul connection. Others may offer perspective, teachings may offer principles, but you must practice honest observation. What is the relationship actually producing? Not what you hope it will produce, not what it produced briefly in the beginning, not what the other person promises. What is it creating consistently? Are both souls growing? Is truth becoming easier? Is respect increasing? Are the same wounds being repaired or merely repeated? Does the bond make space for spiritual purpose? These questions protect the soul from illusion. A relationship serving liberation may still contain difficulty, but difficulty moves somewhere. There is development. There is humility. There is change. A relationship serving only repetition circles endlessly. The same apology, the same betrayal, the same promise, the same fear. The soul becomes exhausted. At some point, exhaustion can become awakening. You realize you are not being asked to try harder at repeating the same pattern. You are being asked to choose differently. This choice may be the sacred purpose of the entire reunion. Perhaps the other person does not understand. Perhaps they believe you have stopped loving them, but sometimes love becomes wiser than continuation. You can love a soul and refuse the pattern. You can honor the history and decline another repetition. You can release the person without denying the connection. This is one of the highest expressions of spiritual maturity. The mind believes release means the love was false. The soul understands that release may be the final form of love. You stop asking the person to remain trapped in a role. You stop remaining trapped in yours. Both paths become open. What each soul does with that freedom becomes their own responsibility. Perhaps one continues toward awakening. The other continues repeating. Their journeys may diverge. This can be accepted without hatred. You do not need every person to reach the same realization with you. Liberation includes respecting the timing of another soul while protecting your own path. You can pray for their awakening without waiting beside every closed door. You can wish them peace without becoming responsible for creating it. You can love from a distance. This is not always coldness. Sometimes it is the only way love can remain free from harm. Certain souls may meet again when both are ready, or the lesson may be complete. You do not need certainty about the future to choose truth today. This is the final surrender. You release the need to know whether they will return. You stop building your life around a possible reunion. You allow destiny, karma, and divine order to hold what you cannot control. Your task is to live consciously now, to become the person the lesson was trying to awaken. If the relationship taught you courage, live courageously. If it taught you boundaries, protect truth. If it taught you compassion, serve others. If it taught you non-attachment, stop turning memory into a prison. If it awakened spiritual longing, continue seeking. This is how you honor a recurring soul, not by remaining emotionally frozen at the place where the relationship ended, by carrying the wisdom forward. The greatest tribute to a meaningful connection is transformation. You become more truthful because of it, more compassionate, more awake. You stop repeating the behavior that caused pain. You give future relationships the maturity you developed through the past. Then the connection continues serving life. Its purpose expands beyond personal history. This is how karma becomes dharma. The wound becomes service. The lesson becomes character. The love becomes light. And perhaps, somewhere beyond the visible world, the other soul also continues its journey, carrying impressions from your meeting. Perhaps your kindness becomes strength within them. Perhaps your boundary becomes the truth they understand years later. Perhaps your departure forces an awakening. Perhaps your forgiveness removes a burden they could not name. You may never witness the result. Not every spiritual contribution is visible. A seed can be planted long before it grows. This is another form of non-attachment. You do what is right without demanding to see the outcome. You offer truth and release control. The soul learns to act without possession, even over the result of its love. This is liberation. Certain souls keep finding each other until they understand that love is not a contract guaranteeing form. It is a force capable of awakening consciousness. Sometimes it awakens through union, sometimes through separation, sometimes through joy, sometimes through grief, sometimes through recognition, sometimes through disappointment. The outer experience changes. The deeper invitation remains. Remember who you truly are. You are not only the person being loved or rejected. You are not only the partner, parent, child, friend, teacher, or stranger. You are consciousness moving through these roles. Each role is sacred, but temporary. Each meeting is meaningful, but changing. The soul learns to participate fully, without forgetting its eternal nature. This is the balance Vedic wisdom invites. Do not escape relationships in the name of spirituality. Do not become imprisoned by them in the name of love. Enter them consciously, serve through them, learn through them. Allow them to reveal your ego. Allow them to awaken compassion. And when their form changes, carry the wisdom without clinging to the ashes. This is how the soul moves toward freedom. Perhaps the person who feels strangely familiar has found you again, because both of you are standing before an old doorway. Behind you are lifetimes of attachment, promises, debts, wounds, longing, separation, and unfinished lessons. Before you is a choice. You can enter the same room and repeat the same story, or you can open a new door, a door of truth, a door of forgiveness, a door of responsibility, a door of non-attachment, a door of conscious love. The person may walk through it with you, or you may need to walk through alone. But once the doorway has been seen, you cannot remain completely unaware. The meeting has already fulfilled part of its purpose. It has shown you where freedom is waiting. This may be why the connection feels so powerful. It is not only calling you toward another person, it is calling you toward a higher version of yourself. The soul before you becomes a messenger. Their presence says, "Here is the love you must purify. Here is the wound you must heal. Here is the truth you must speak. Here is the fear you must release. Here is the attachment you must transform. Here is the freedom you are finally ready to choose." Do not focus so completely on the messenger that you miss the message. Many people become obsessed with keeping the person and never receive the awakening the person brought. They spend years asking, "How can I make them stay?" But the deeper question was, what is this meeting asking me to become? When you answer that question, the connection begins revealing its sacred purpose. Perhaps you must become someone who no longer begs for love. Perhaps someone who can receive love without suspicion. Perhaps someone who speaks truth gently. Perhaps someone who forgives but remembers the lesson. Perhaps someone who can remain alone without feeling abandoned by life. Perhaps someone who can love deeply without possession. Perhaps someone who understands that every soul is on a journey too vast to be owned. That transformation may be the reason the souls found one another again. Not to recreate the past exactly, to complete what the past could not teach. The same souls may have met many times through desire. Now they must meet through awareness. They may have met through need, now through choice. They may have met through debt, now through gratitude. They may have met through fear, now through freedom. They may have repeatedly lost each other because neither understood impermanence. Now they meet knowing every moment is sacred. This is the evolution of love. It begins as attraction. It becomes attachment. Attachment creates suffering. Suffering creates inquiry. Inquiry creates awareness. Awareness purifies love. Purified love becomes a path toward liberation. Not every relationship completes this journey, but every meaningful connection contains the possibility. The person may not awaken with you, the relationship may not survive, yet you can still complete your side of the lesson. You can choose awareness. You can stop creating another chain. This is why no meeting is entirely wasted when consciousness is present. Even failure becomes instruction. Even heartbreak becomes a doorway. Even separation becomes surrender. The soul uses everything. Nothing needs to remain meaningless. The deepest purpose of recurring souls is not to guarantee that two personalities will remain together forever. Personalities change, bodies disappear, roles dissolve. The deeper purpose is to help consciousness remember what is eternal beneath these changes. Sometimes another soul reminds you through love, sometimes through loss, sometimes through a recognition so immediate that the mind cannot explain it. You feel that you have returned home, but perhaps the person is not the final home. Perhaps they are the doorway leading you toward the home within your own deepest nature. This is one of the greatest mysteries of spiritual love. You search for yourself in another. Through the connection, you eventually discover the self that was never missing. Then you can love the other person without demanding that they carry your entire existence. You can see them clearly. You can bless their path. You can walk together in freedom, or you can release them in peace. The bond has led you inward. Its highest purpose has been fulfilled. Certain souls keep finding each other until they no longer need to search for themselves through one another. They meet until love becomes remembrance, until attachment becomes gratitude, until fear becomes trust in the greater journey, until separation no longer feels like the destruction of the soul, until both understand that no physical relationship can be the final destination. The destination is awakening. The relationship is one sacred path toward it. When this truth is understood, the question changes. You no longer ask only, "Will this soul remain with me?" You ask, "What are we helping each other remember?" You no longer ask, "Were we lovers in another lifetime?" You ask, "Are we creating freedom in this one?" You no longer ask, "How can I make this connection permanent?" You ask, "How can I honor its purpose while it is here?" These questions belong to a more mature consciousness. They do not remove romance, tenderness, or longing. They place them inside a greater truth. You love fully, but you do not forget impermanence. You commit deeply, but not blindly. You honor the soul, not only the role. You protect the connection without turning it into possession, and when change arrives, you meet it with grief, courage, and awareness. This is how love becomes spiritual. This is how karma becomes liberation. And this is why certain souls keep finding each other in every lifetime. They are not merely searching for another chance to be together. They are searching for another chance to become conscious, another chance to choose truth over fear, another chance to replace possession with reverence, another chance to heal what was repeated, another chance to complete what was left unfinished, another chance to help each other remember that the soul is greater than every role it has ever played. They meet as lovers, friends, parents, children, teachers, rivals, protectors, and strangers. They give, they take, they wound, they forgive, they lose, they return. Through every meeting, the soul is slowly learning how to love without creating another prison. And when that lesson is finally complete, the connection no longer pulls them together through debt, desperation, or unfinished pain. If they meet again, they meet freely. If they walk apart, they do so peacefully. No hatred follows. No obsession remains. Only gratitude. One soul silently recognizes the other and understands. We have traveled far together. We have been mirrors, wounds, teachers, and companions. We have carried each other through darkness. We have repeated the lesson until awareness finally became stronger than attachment. And now, whether we remain side by side or continue on different paths, neither of us needs to be imprisoned by this bond again. That is the highest form of reunion, not two incomplete souls clinging to one another, two conscious souls honoring the sacred journey they shared. They do not meet to escape themselves, they meet as themselves. They do not demand completion, they offer presence. They do not create chains, they create light. And perhaps this is the final secret hidden within every powerful soul connection. The person you keep finding may not have returned simply to stay in your life. They may have returned to help you become free, and you may have returned to do the same for them. Some people do not enter your life as strangers. They arrive carrying a feeling your mind cannot explain. Their face is new, but their presence feels ancient. Their voice touches a place within you that seems older than memory. You may feel love, peace, fear, pain, trust, or recognition before you understand anything about them. According to Vedic wisdom, this may be because the meeting did not truly begin today. Perhaps your souls once shared a promise. Perhaps love remained unfinished. Perhaps a karmic debt was waiting to be balanced. Perhaps the same wound returned so it could finally be healed. Or perhaps both souls found one another again because each carries a key to the other's awakening. But remember this carefully. A powerful connection is not always meant to become a permanent relationship. Some souls return to walk beside you. Some return to challenge you. Some return to reveal the part of yourself you have been avoiding. Some return so you can finally offer forgiveness. And some return so you can learn to release without hatred. The true meaning of a soul connection is not found only in how strongly you feel about the person. It is found in what the connection is creating within you. Are you becoming more conscious or more confused, more truthful or more fearful, more compassionate or more dependent? Are you learning to love without possession? Are you learning to protect your dignity without closing your heart? Are you becoming more awake, or are you repeating the same suffering and calling it destiny? Do not become so obsessed with discovering who someone was in another lifetime that you fail to see who you are becoming because of them in this one. The past may explain the meeting, but your present choices determine its purpose. The soul before you may feel familiar, but familiarity alone is not the final answer. The final answer is transformation. If the bond teaches you courage, carry that courage forward. If it teaches you forgiveness, let forgiveness remove hatred without reopening the door to harm. If it teaches you self-respect, never again abandon yourself to preserve a relationship. If it teaches you love, let that love become larger than possession. And if it teaches you surrender, release the person without believing that the meaning of the connection has been lost. Some relationships end because they failed. Others end because their purpose has been completed. Some people stay because both souls still have work to do together. Others leave because separation is the final lesson. You may never remember the first lifetime in which your paths crossed. You may never know every promise, wound, sacrifice, or act of love that created the invisible thread between you. But you do not need every detail of the past to honor the truth of the present. Look at what the connection reveals. Look at what it awakens. Look at what it asks you to heal. And then ask the question that matters most. Why have our souls found each other now? Perhaps the answer is not simply love. Perhaps it is growth. Perhaps it is completion. Perhaps it is awakening. Perhaps you have met again because this is the lifetime in which the old pattern must finally end. This may be the lifetime in which fear becomes trust, attachment becomes freedom, pain becomes wisdom, debt becomes forgiveness, and love becomes pure enough that neither soul needs to possess the other. When that happens, the bond no longer becomes another chain pulling both souls back into suffering. It becomes a light guiding them forward. And if the souls meet again, they will not meet as two incomplete beings desperately searching for what is missing. They will meet with recognition, gratitude, and peace. They will understand that their journey was never only about remaining together. It was about helping one another remember the truth, that no soul belongs to another, that every meeting is sacred but temporary, that love is real even when its form changes, and that the highest purpose of finding one another is not possession, it is liberation. So when someone enters your life and feels strangely familiar, do not immediately ask, were they mine in another lifetime? Ask instead, what has this soul returned to awaken within me? Because that answer may reveal not only why you met them before, but why, Across the silence of death, the mystery of rebirth, and the passage of countless lives, your souls kept finding their way back to one another.